So you believe you know the story. The boy who lived, the chosen one, the shining light destined to defeat the Dark Lord. But what of the shadows that guarded that light? What of the man condemned to lurk in darkness, despised by those he swore to protect? From the moment a scrawny boy stepped into Hogwarts in 1991, to the final battle that shook its ancient walls in 1998, history remembers the legend of Harry Potter. But this is the story you were never told. The hidden war fought in silence, the sacrifices buried beneath hatred, the truth seen not through the eyes of a hero, but through mine. I am Severus Snape, and this is how it truly happened. So, settle in, close your eyes, and let the story unfold, as it always should have been told. The boy arrives with a scar shaped like a closed eye, and every corridor tries to look away. He slides into the castle on tides of rumor. The rain smells like iron on the stone steps. The river sends up a damp breath through the archway below, and the torches spit the word Potter into the dark like a curse the wind keeps. I stand at the high table as if the dais can insulate a man from memory. It never has. It will not now. The first years stop in a shivering clump under the bewitched ceiling. I can feel the storm above the hall before I see it. Pressure builds against my teeth, that old sky ache, and with it the quickened pulse that comes when you feel a vow tug on the bone. Dumbledore sits with his inscrutable patience, a kindness sharpened into strategy. Beside him, Quirrell reeks faintly of garlic and fear. The hat sings and the hall laughs, and the glowing plates breathe steam. It is so domestic you could think this is safety. You would be wrong. I look for Lily in the line. I find James. The boy has her eyes and his mouth. Fate is not merely cruel. It is efficient. The scar is a seam where death tried to divide him and failed. He wears that failure like a badge, and already the room stitches a story around it. I know how rooms do that. I have spent years letting them. Minerva calls their names: Granger, eager; Longbottom, trembling; Malfoy, self-satisfied in a way that makes older Slytherins sit straighter and younger ones smirk. Then the hall learns the word Harry from McGonagall's mouth, and the word echoes against the cups. The boy walks forward without strut or slump, the way someone would approach a door that may either open to warmth or to a fall. There is a tilt, not of the hat, of the world. I feel it in the hinge of the moment. If there were justice, no, not that. If there were mercy, the hat considers him. I consider myself, because this is a test I already failed. Lily's son, a boy who should never have been asked to carry myth. I do not pray. I do not plead. I have done both, and they did not save her. Gryffindor gets him, and the table explodes into red noise. Relief and irritation lance the faculty table like a simultaneous joke. Quirrell flinches at the sound. Dumbledore twinkles at nothing. Minerva allows herself a small, victorious breath, and then fixes the children with a look that says, victory will cost homework. I drink water, because wine tonight would loosen some hinge that must stay shut. He sits between Weasley and Granger. He keeps checking the doors as if something were coming. It is I would tell him. But I am a different kind of door, and I open only to let the wolf pass through me first. They watch me, because students always do. A man in black reads as villain to minds, trained by bedtime fables. That suits me. It is a useful curtain. You cannot spy from a stage. You spy from the dark wings. When their plates fill, I count beats of the whole S heart. Filch drops a fork. Peeves imitates a trumpet. The ghosts do their pale patrol. Beneath it all, under the learned noise of school, there is the throb of the stone. Hogwarts has a rhythm. You learn to hear it, or you do not live here long. After the ceremony, the children funnel away to chambers that will own their sleep. I sweep corridors that once swallowed me. I pass a staircase that remembers a boy with ink on his hands and fury in his throat. His name was mine. He thought knowledge could outpace loneliness. He was wrong, but knowledge does outrun some monsters. If you feed it your pride, Quirrell slinks toward the third floor as if he misread the warning and thinks misdirection will hide intent. He has adopted a stutter like a cloak. He wants the hall to hold. He bows when our paths cross. I return the courtesy that is safe in public, the sort of thin blade smile that says, I see you and I will peel you later. He smells like old coins. That tells me more than the garlic. Money and fear together encourage people into the worst shapes. In my office, the dungeon S damp breath is familiar as a pulse. Bottles glow faintly, each a small moon trapped in green glass. Cataloging is control. I sort aconite, wormwood, belladonna. I hold a sprig of dittany and think of hands I could not heal. And I put the thought down the way you place an unstable potion on a shelf and warn a student not to shake it. The warning is for me. The first week arrives like a tide that masks a riptide. Classes, rosters, detentions, the 700 daily negotiations between adolescent hunger and institutional limits. One choose a persona the way a duelist chooses stance. I am the wall. I am the cold that keeps Slytherins expect shelter. Gryffindors expect opposition. I oblige both. It is not theatre to me. It is calculus. When the Gryffindor first years file into my room, the torches burn with a particular color I reserve for new recruits. Not quite welcoming, not quite threat. Enough for them to understand that chemistry is only what mundane minds think happens in a lab. Potions are a literature. Potions have accent marks. Potions are thieves that steal hours from consequences, or they are consequences in jars. I let the silence teach for a count of 5. Then I speak, and the tone is the old one, the one I perfected, so no one could ever hear begging in it again. The boy sits where James would have sat to maximize confrontation, which means he did not choose the seat at all. He was placed there by orbit. Weasley flares at any tone that sounds like sneer, the way boys from big families often need to combust to be seen. Granger's hand levitates before her mind asks permission. The entire room vibrates with desire to be initiated, and I take that desire and cool it. Desire and fire share too many letters. I ask questions that make them realize they do not know the questions they should be asking. I describe the properties of monkshood as if I am discussing whether. I describe bazaars as if I am describing a rescue boat that will not always come. I watch the boy when I say the word antidote. He hears it like a name. I do not let my voice change on account of that. Play. He tries to be invisible. Then he fails and is seen. A murmur of interest passes from bench to bench. Weasley colors. Granger presses her mouth into a line disciplined enough to cut paper. I circle like a storm that picked this classroom as its sea. The boy looks up at me with Lily S. eyes, and I feel a door blow inward that I nailed shut years ago. It happens without my consent. Then I shut it again, because consent is not involved in today's curriculum, and survival is. I assign a simple mixture. If they cannot brew it without bursting into anecdote, they cannot be trusted with anything summoning smoke. I give explicit instructions once. I will watch who watches the cauldron, and who watches the room. The boy watches the instructions, and then watches me. It is a poor habit. It implies he has learned that pity can be read on a teacher's face. It will not be read on mine. He spills. He corrects. He keeps his temper. I take a point. I give none back. He thinks the taking is personal. It is, but not in the way he believes. He thinks I hate him for James. That is half of a true thing, which is worse than a lie because it feels solid underfoot until you step. As they bottle their work, I pass behind the boy. The scent of asphodel rises, delicate as a memory of snow. He has produced something drinkable, not elegant, but alive. I mark it with the small tick that means continue, and I do it where he cannot see. There is no reason to show him mercy in language he will misread as favor. Favor will get him killed faster than hatred in these halls. When the bell frees them, their boots scrape rhythm on the stone. Gryffindor shouts at Slytherin. In practice, for a future war neither house currently believes will be theirs to fight. The boy hesitates at the door. He glances back at the bench as if leaving it behind will unmake what happened there. He holds an instinct the world will try to beat out of him. He checks the room for traps he cannot name. He goes after I draft a memorandum of petty crimes for the day. Untidy cauldrons, excessive chatter, a puff-skein hair found in my storeroom that has no right to be there, which means someone thinks my locks are opinions. I neglect to sign the memo. Filch will know the hand anyway. It keeps people on edge. Fear is not a teacher. It is a substitute you hire when funds run low. But I have found it can maintain order long enough for education to slip in, disguised as routine. Outside my office, the corridor listens. Hogwarts hears. Sometimes it even answers. On the stair, I find a token. A chocolate frog cart left behind in a childish storm. Dumbledore smiles up from the glossy board, the way a man must keep smiling once the photograph bleeds into legend. I pocket it because it is information about a boy's evening, and because there is something indecent about leaving a headmaster's face to scuff under shoes. I tell myself this is about shoe polish, and not about how a dead woman's friend keeps living on paper that her son will collect. I do not argue with the story I just told myself. There is work. Quirrell drifts past like a whisper that believes itself harmless. He asks a question without asking one, and I answer without answering. He pretends fear of students. He is afraid of different children, not ours. He is afraid of something that calls a grown man child. My mark tingles, old venom warms. I wrap my mind in occlusion until the sensation dulls, the way one presses a cloth against a bleeding line and waits. That night the ceiling rolls with storms the way a chest rolls with cough. The hall softens around the edges of candles. Dumbledore announces forbidden corridors with the relish of a tailor who warns against a door that has been dressed to attract violation. The children laugh. Even clever ones laugh when the joke is a map. I catch the boy's sigh from across the distance and hold it for a beat too long. He looks away first. Good instinct, or good luck. Later, I walk the 3rd floor alone because someone must. Peeves chases his reflection in a suit of armor until it scolds him for scuffing its dignity. Filch eels, along with Mrs. Norris, who has learned to look devotedly at whoever stands between her and a ball. When the castle sleeps, it dreams of its children. Some nights it dreams too hard. Tonight it trembles in the bones, because there is a new heart in the house that the old bricks remember. They do not love him yet. They will. They will love him the way a fortress loves a flag, as simple as duty. That will hurt him. Duty always hurts the one who carries it properly. On my desk there is a letter from a former student. It smells like cologne and success. He thanks me for severity that made him improve. He invites me to dinner in a neighborhood with white napkins. I put the letter under a stack of unfriendly papers until it can breathe only twice a day. The act steadies me in the useless way old habits do. I permit myself a stillness, then I break it. I prepare a list with 3 names and 1 question mark. Quirrell, a shadow in Nocturne, who laughed like tin. A whisper through a snake I did not hear but felt like wind. Then the mark that has no name, because naming it is an act of faith I will not give. Not yet. In the morning, owls stain the air with paper and hunger. Students leak to breakfast. The room rumbles with the ordinary catastrophe of childhood. I look for the boy without admitting the looking. He eats like someone who has learned to make speed a defense. He pretends to listen to Weasley. He actually listens to the room. This interests me. Children who listen to rooms survive longer in castles with secrets. He does not know I watched Quidditch try to kill him before it ever met a broom. He does not know I will watch it again and lend him breath from the edge of the pitch when the enchantment turns and a body becomes a trap. He does not know the worst thing I will do to him will be honesty disguised as contempt, because contempt is the only language that will get past his defenses while keeping mine intact. He does not know any of this, and that ignorance is my shield and his bruise. I finish my tea. I mark a name next to a day and draw a circle around it until the parchment bruises. I have a vow that lives in the marrow The boy sits 3 tables away and eats toast as if it might vanish. The hall chants its ancient song. Outside, the lake is a mirror, a giant turned upside down. Lessons begin. The year begins. The game begins again with pieces I already bled to keep on the board. He rises. The scar looks different in morning light, less like a closed eye and more like a signature someone forged on skin. He walks toward a class that will treat him like a prophecy with shoes. I stand and gather my robes and become the villain he will accept. If he fears me properly, perhaps he will fear the right things later. Before I turn, a draft curls through the hall and lifts a candle flame into a brief spear. It points toward the 3rd floor door, the one Dumbledore forbade with a smile. The flame gutters back into a flower. Students laugh. The castle exhales. And somewhere beneath us, far below the stone and rule books, a different breath stirs that does not belong to any house or master. I know its name. The boy does not yet. The first accident of the year tastes of iron and broom bristles. Quidditch season opens with fanfare that sounds like war drums to those of us who have lived real battles. Students paint their faces in house colors, and a pitch trembles with boots and bets. The Gryffindor team treats the game as if the world will rise or fall on leather stitched around air. The Slytherin team treats it like a contract written in bruises. I sit high in the stands, my cloak drawing suspicion the way clouds draw lightning. It suits me. Below, the boy takes the field. He is too slight, too new, to calm in the way children become when they do not yet know death aims for them again. A broom between his knees does not erase the scar between his eyes. It makes it more visible, as if flight is a canvas and the mark is paint. The crowd chants his name. He has never earned this noise. He does not know that noise is sometimes a prelude to burial. The snitch glitters like a secret laughing in the sun. For a moment, the game is only that children chasing light across wind. Then the threads of darker magic tug. The boy 𝒆𝒑 jerks with intention, not his own. His body flails, puppet tugged. The Gryffindors scream. The Slytherins jeer. None of them understand that if he falls, I fail. My wand moves before my thought does. I knot syllables under my breath, charms layered one over another like mortar between stones. Protection, balance, tether. Each countercurse takes something from me. 2 eyes that do not know the language. It looks like a man muttering grudges. 2 eyes that do. It looks like defiance aimed at the wrong target. Quarrel sweats nearby, his turban trembling as if the cloth is alive. He pretends to wring his hands, but his eyes are wrong, fixed on the boy with a predator S concentration. His lips move. His spell slides like oil down the broom S handle. I push harder, and for a sickening moment, it is a duel played on the body of a child. The boy clings. His hands are raw against the wood. Weasley yells from the stands. Granger notices more than she should. She shoves through the row, mutters fire into her palms, and sets Quirrell S robes alight with childish boldness. The curse breaks. The broom writes itself. The boy spits a golden sphere from his mouth, like a snake producing a jewel. The stands explode with cheer. Victory, they call it. I call it survival. Survival is not victory. Survival is delay. When the field empties, I linger. The pitch smells of trampled grass and adrenaline. I feel the echo of the curse still in the air, a residue like smoke after a fire. I file it away as evidence, though I cannot take it to trial. Dumbledore will already know. Dumbledore always knows. But he will let the boy remain in the game, because games are the crucible he favors. In the quiet after the storm, I walk the boundary of the pitch. My mark stirs faintly, not as burn, but as memory, as if reminded that its master has plans unfolding. I press my palm to the sleeve until the skin beneath bruises. This is the price of masks. A spy is never off the stage. Back in the castle, the corridors hum with celebration. Students rush past me, recounting the boy 𝒍𝒆𝒑 as if it were proof of destiny. They do not see the string that almost cut him from the sky. They do not see me. They never do, unless I want them to. In my office, I uncork a vial of calming draught meant for an unstable 5th year. I do not drink it. I only breathe the fumes until my pulse slows. Then I return it to the shelf. Self-indulgence is weakness. The boy sleeps tonight, believing he is lucky. He is wrong. Luck is random. He is protected. That protection will make him careless. And carelessness is what will kill him if I falter even once. The night deepens. My quill scratches reports. No one reads with the honesty they deserve. The torches gutter somewhere. Down a forbidden corridor, the castle shivers like a beast guarding its heart. I wonder how long before the boy decides to chase it. The forbidden corridor hums like a tooth you should not press. Children cannot resist locks that gleam. Warnings taste like dares to their ears. Dumbledore knows this. He plants temptation the way gardeners plant seeds, and waits to see which sprout. It is cruel wisdom. It is necessary. I patrol the 3rd floor anyway, because one man 𝒍 necessary is another man 𝒍 grave. Tonight, the door sings of trespass. My wand finds the handle before my hand does. It is warm, not from the castle's veins, from recent touch. I push inside. The stink hits first, the smell of animal breath contained too long. Then the growler, thick, impatient. 3 heads glare down, eyes red as furnace coals, teeth yellow with saliva. The beast Dumbledore, set as guardian, snarls, as if it knows I once dreamed of taming monsters with parchment and potion. Its middle head leans close enough to taste the fabric of my robe. I do not flinch. Flinching invites bites. Behind me, the corridor floor groans with the weight of small boots retreating. Shadows flicker a trio of silhouettes darting away, guilty and terrified. Potter, Weasley, Granger. Of course, the exact combination least capable of subtlety and most likely to collide with destiny. I step forward until the dog smells my confidence, then whisper the charm that stills muscle into sleep. The heads drop one by one, like towers collapsing. The floor shudders. Silence slams shut. When I turn back into the hall, it is empty except for the dust their shoes stirred. They will believe they escaped unseen. Good fear will slow them. But fear also tempts repetition. Curiosity is a contagion, and they are infected. In my office later, I prepared drafts for injuries that have not happened yet. Burn, salve, bone mender, antidotes to venoms a child should never meet. I line them up like soldiers and wonder which bottle will empty first. I know where this thread leads. Stone, chambers beneath chambers, secrets the school guards more fiercely than any ministry vault. If children meddle, they will find teeth sharper than a three-headed hound. If they die, I break my vow. If I break my vow, Lily dies a second time in me. So I will not let them. What the thought gnaws. Dumbledore set this board, not me. Perhaps he expects the boy to face the pieces. Perhaps he wants him blooded early. If that is the case, then my role is not rescuer, but referee, to keep the child alive long enough to lose pieces and still play. The fire burns low. Shadows lengthen like claws over jars. Somewhere below, stone keeps its secret heart under lock, waiting for the hand bold enough, for foolish enough to turn the key. And I already know whose hand it will be. He smells of old money and fresher treachery, and I keep thinking which will rot first. Quirrell moves like a man wearing someone else's fear for warmth. The turban sits there like an apology he will not utter. He lingers at thresholds, arranges his coat to hide hands that fidget with threads, and pretends every cough is merely a cough. I watch him because watching is the least that will keep my promise intact. I watch him because the castle whispers, and I have learned to listen where others only hear gossip. There are patterns to traitors. They speak too politely. They apologize too quickly. They leave rooms with a residue of other people's secrets clinging to them. Quirrell has the traitor S. Sheen. More importantly, he has proximity to the thing I suspect he wants. He tutors in whispers to those who do not need a tutor. He lingers near the third floor on the nights it should be empty. He carries the odor of garlic and of coin. He is, in short, exactly the kind of man who would be convenient for a Dark Lord to use. I could be wrong. I have been wrong enough to be careful when I think myself right. But there is the matter of the broom, and there is the matter of the three-headed dog, and there is the matter that the boy's life seems to be a string pulled taut by hands. I do not like patterns plus motive plus opportunity, and the sum is a calculus that does not lie. Dumbledore informs me in a manner that is both casual and surgical. He slides the information across my desk, as if it were a puzzle he has already solved, and offers me the corner pieces. I receive them and study the curve of the cut. Dumbledore's kindness is an apparatus by which he measures people, not a blanket that ever truly warms them. When he speaks of protection, he speaks of the long game. I think of the word long like the drawing out of a blade. No one asked me if I wanted to be a weapon. I became one because vows inscribed themselves into bone. I begin to test the seams. I watch Quirrell with a detached hand, the sort of hand but could also pull a knife if the theory needs proof. I ensure the boy takes routes I can see. I remove the obvious hazards. I send a message in the margins of his schedule by making sure the broom repair lessons coincide with a patrol. I do not smile. I do not look paternal. I am the teacher he will accept as enemy rather than savior. Quirrell remains inscrutable. He is careful. His care is a slow, layered thing. He does not step where he cannot be seen. He is the sort who believes himself invisible in the presence of those who will never recount him. That arrogance is useful. It reveals him to me. One evening, I find him in a corridor I thought empty. He is speaking to the portrait of a greasy merchant with hands that flutter, as if he thinks the merchant will barter away a secret for which Quirrell cannot pay. He carries a letter sealed with unfamiliar wax. He slides it into his sleeve the way someone hides a blade. I keep my distance and let the corridor be my witness. You will not see him stumble, and you will not see him confessed. What you see is the smallness of the man and the enormity of what he does not know he carries. He does not know the name at the center of the thing he thinks he serves. He only knows the hunger in a voice that borrowed his face. That ignorance is dangerous in two ways. It makes him unpredictable. It also protects him from fear, and a man without fear is harder to unseat. I do not approach the man with accusations. Accusation is dramatic. I prefer the slow cage. I alter a lesson plan and ensure that he will have to teach a section in front of me to bind him to a spell work he cannot fake. I mark his students for whom he lingers too long. I collect what small evidence I can. A faint charm smudge on a cuff, a rope of lint that smells faintly of salt and old sea air, a scrap of parchment with a hasty cipher. The fortress hums around us like a body adjusting to fever. Students are blissfully unaware that bliss is both mercy and peril. They cheer at illusions and call them games. The castle hides in plain sight. It keeps things because it is built to. If a man wants the thing hidden here, he must either be clever or be wicked. Quirrell is clever enough and wicked in his small ways. He may not be enough for the thing itself. That is why I watch anyway. One must watch fools if only to stop them acting as the first domino. There is an occasion when I corner him by design. I leave a potion set deliberately misaligned, a cauldron placed where only someone with a nervous hand would notice. Quirrell comes because incompetence and curiosity have similar sense. He mutters about neatness, as if neatness will save a man from being seen. I stand in the doorway and present a face that says it is safe to be properly ashamed. He answers with a stammer and a glance full of apologies he does not mean. I leave him with his apology. Words unmoored from truth are lighter than lead. They blow away. I keep the look in my pocket like a pebble to throw at quick windows. I am not the only watcher in the school. Ghosts have their loyalties, and the portraits their opinions. Even Peeves keeps his eye open when mischief might end in real harm. Information arrives at my desk via small economies. A whisper from a house elf, an overheard stitch of conversation in the kitchens, a book left open at a page that mentions protective runes. I stitch those threads into a tapestry of concern. It is not a grand picture. It is a map with routes I can monitor. There are moments when I consider telling Dumbledore everything. My mouth loosens as if to speak and then clamps. Dumbledore already knows more than I suspect, and Dumbledore's plans have the luxury of time I do not possess. I operate in a minute. He operates in years. Sometimes the difference is a gulf that eats men. My suspicion rests on evidence small enough to be dismissed and large enough to justify watching. It rests on a feeling I have cultivated since I was a boy. Feeling is not evidence. Feeling is a sword without a scabbard. It must be used carefully, or it cuts the hand that holds it. Buy, draft a new list. Quirrell is at its top. Below him I place a scribbled question mark that might belong to Snape's memory of a man who once betrayed a woman for ease. Below that, a name I will not write yet, because naming the exact thing I fear is to make it real in the eyes of others. Fear likes company. Clarity isolates it. I spend nights in the library because one must feed knowledge when hunger gnaws like a curse. I thumb through texts on wards and on concealment, on old magics that will not appear in polite conversation. I learn to inscribe a particular charm into the linings of cloak hems, small things that look like tailoring and are actually fail-safes. I do what I can without explanation. I do what I can without applause. When the boy attempts to find the truth, as boys do, he does so with the enthusiasm of someone who has been told he cannot. He is a conduit of dangerous curiosity. He is also the child of those I loved and those I hated. That mixture makes him complicated to protect. I cannot love him. I cannot trust my hands not to betray me if I begin to love him. So I settle for something colder. I settle for the vow, and the vow carries me like a keel. The bad men converse behind curtains in the town. The darker men call names that prick the back of my neck. I tighten my watch. Quirrell will wait. The thing he waits for may already be waiting inside him. Or it may be someone else who will not find his name until it is too late. Both outcomes leave me with fewer choices. Tonight, after patrols, I stand in the shadow of the portrait of the fat lady and let the corridor pretend it does not notice me. The school breathes. I count its breaths. My lists are sharp. My resolve is a thin blade. The boy sleeps with his back to a wall and thinks it is safety. I think it is a beginning. When I return to my office, I find a note tucked into my potions ledger. Dumbledore has written only 2 words and a circle beneath them. He knows. The knowledge is both a relief and an iron. The circle is the figure of a stone. The note is a summons without urgency. It is a calendar rather than a cry. He wants me to be ready, not to react. He wants me bound to a plan I cannot see. I sharpen my quill and begin to write my own margin notes. There will be a night when secrets collide. There will be a corridor where light fails and a child stands between doors. I do not yet know what decisions will be made there. I only know I will be watching, and watching is a kind of prayer I have perfected into something useful. The castle never sleeps. It only pretends. humming beneath the stone like a predator at rest. Children mistake that hum for comfort. They chatter, they dream. They run along corridors believing the walls are patient. They are not. The walls remember more blood than any battlefield. Tonight they whisper louder, because the boy and his friends are whispering too. I trail them in silence. They believe themselves clever, wrapped in the glamour of invisibility. But I know the weight of footsteps. I know the tug of reckless intent. The air bends around them like cloths stretched thin. They are heading where they should not, always where they should not. The third floor door sighs on its hinges as if it expected them. I remain in the shadow of a stairwell, waiting. A faint whimper escapes one of the children before they shove it down. Then the sound of beast breath fills the hall, wet and heavy. Fluffy stirs. The creature is half guardian, half executioner, and all hunger. The children do not yet know that beasts guard secrets better than locks. I wait until the floorboards shiver with the dog's growl, and the trio stumbles backward into the hall, pale and shaking. They flee toward the safety of torchlight, their whispered terror chasing them. I do not step out, not yet. Fear must linger in their marrow. It is the only leash strong enough for Gryffindor curiosity. When the corridor empties, I enter. Fluffy lowers his heads when he sees me. Not submission recognition. Dumbledore has woven my scent into the wards that tether the beast. Still, one head growls, a reminder that no loyalty is absolute. I whisper the tune the headmaster taught me. A string of notes like a lullaby turned sideways. The creature blinks heavy lids and collapses into sleep. The trapdoor at his paws is a mouth waiting to swallow. I crouch beside it, feel the faint heat rising from below. Wards layer upon wards like scales. Something sleeps under there, but not peacefully. The stone is not an object. It is a hunger with edges smoothed by alchemy. Men have killed kingdoms for less. I close the door, reseal the lock, and rise. My reflection flickers in Fluffy's saliva. The man staring back looks more like a warden than a professor. Perhaps there is no difference anymore. Back in my dungeon office, I pour a small measure of fire whiskey and let it sit untouched. Beside it, a parchment carries a list of names. Quirrell, Potter, Weasley, Granger, Dumbledore, myself. Lines connect them in a web no one else can see. At the center, I leave only a blank space, because naming the thing that moves behind Quirrell's eyes feels like an invocation, and I cannot risk it yet. The boy will come again. I know it as surely as I know the corridors that shaped me. He is his parents' child, James's recklessness, Lily's curiosity. Together they form a compass that points only toward peril. The vow burns dully in my bones. Protect him, even from himself. Especially from himself. I douse the torch. The dungeon breathes cool against my face. Tomorrow I will play the villain again, docking points and sharpening sarcasm until the boy hates me. Hatred is easier to live with than gratitude. Gratitude softens. Hatred hardens. And he will need to be hard, or he will break. Above, the storm lashes the castle windows. Beneath, the stone waits. Between them, a boy with a scar sleeps, unaware that every corridor has already chosen him as its next secret. The library at night feels more dangerous than the forbidden forest. By day, it is parchment and dust, the polite noise of quills scratching against a tide of suppressed yawns. By night, it breathes differently. Shelves lean close. Tomes whisper in tongues not taught at Hogwarts. And the restricted section pulses with the slow heartbeat of knowledge that kills as surely as poison. Students think the dangers end at the rope and the warning note. They are wrong. Books bite harder than beasts. Spy patrol past midnight, cloak trailing like smoke. The castle guided me. Here it does that when mischief flares hot enough. Sure enough, a muffled laugh echoes from between stacks. Not Peeves, not a ghost. Too small, too nervous. Children again. Always children. I round the corner and catch the tail end of their blunder. The boy and his red-haired shadow frozen in the glow of a lamp stolen from its sconce. The girl is absent, which means she is either elsewhere or already smarter than the others. The boy grips a book too large for his arms. Its clasps twitch as if eager to snap shut on his fingers. I remember that sting. I remember the arrogance of thinking I could outwit books older than empires. They do not see me yet. I watch a moment longer, because sometimes fear educates better than reprimand. The silence between pages sharpens. The text mutters. Then the boy flinches as the letters slither across the parchment, rearranging themselves into shapes his mind is not ready to swallow. He drops the volume. The clasps slam shut with a sound like a jaw breaking. The lamp gutters. Only then do I step forward. They freeze. Weasley's ears flush crimson. Potter's eyes, Lily's eyes, lock on me with the defiance of someone who would rather be caught than be pitied. I let the silence stretch. Let them believe their lives are about to unravel. Then I whisper the spell that sends the dangerous book back to its shelf, and the library exhales relief. I do not scold. Words would only harden their pride. Instead, I mark their faces into memory. Children who seek answers in places barred to them are children who will return again. The boy's hunger for truth is too familiar. It is the same hunger that once drove me into alleys and cellars and circles of men I should have fled. Hunger can build or destroy. Usually it does both. I deduct points, sharp and loud enough to sting. The house hourglasses will bleed rubies, and their classmates will curse their names by morning. They glare at me, exactly as I want them to. Hatred is cleaner than gratitude. Hatred will keep them wary. Wary might keep them alive. Back in my office, I record the incident in ink that disappears as it dries. Dumbledore will not need the details. He already suspects the boy is circling the stone's secret. What he will not admit is that the stone circles the boy in return, like predator scenting prey. The fire burns low. Bottles on my shelves throw green light across the walls, painting me as monster in glass. I accept the role. Monsters frighten children away from places where gods sleep. Tomorrow, Potter will wake convinced that I despise him. He will be correct. But he will not know that my hatred is the narrow bridge across which his life walks each night. And the bridge grows thinner each time he strays closer to the dark. The forbidden forest swallows sound the way fire swallows air. Detention should teach humility. For these children it delivers revelation. The boy Weasley, the Malfoy heir, and that trembling Longbottom trail after Hagrid into trees older than the Ministry itself. I follow at a distance, unseen, because someone must. Hagrid has a heart too large to imagine malice lurking in dark bark. I have seen too much to imagine otherwise. The air thickens with damp moss and the copper temps of blood. Silver threads streak the undergrowth a unicorn's trail. Malfoy flinches at every crack of twig. Longbottom already looks half undone. The boy does not falter. He walks as though he knows this darkness will always reach for him. They find the carcass in a clearing, pale as bone, drained of its light. The unicorn should shine even in death. Instead, its body is a mirror showing the absence of mercy. The children recoil. The boy leans closer, not out of recklessness, but recognition. Some part of him already understands that purity attracts corruption. The rustle comes next, to deliver it to be mere wildlife. A cloaked figure crouches over the corpse, face hidden, mouth pressed to the wound. The forest holds its breath. Then the thing lifts its head, and even from where I stand, the sight of black blood dripping from its lips coils a sickness in me. The children panic. Malfoy bolts, Longbottom crumples, Hagrid bellows orders. The boy stands transfixed, scar blazing under moonlight, as if some invisible thread ties him to the figure. The creature moves toward him, hunger vibrating in its stride. The boy sways. He does not run. I lift my wand, words coiled on my tongue. But the centaurs arrive first hooves. Thunder, arrows glitter. Fiorenza bursts into the clearing and places himself between boy and beast. The figure withdraws, a shadow retreating deeper into shadows, leaving only silence and the stink of spoiled innocence. The children are herded back toward safety, their shock a cloak they cannot yet shed. Hagrid curses softly, grief for the unicorn etched into his bulk. Malfoy boasts through his fear, desperate to reclaim dignity. The boy remains silent, eyes fixed on something far beyond the tree life. Back in the castle, I pace. The vow claws in my bones, demanding interpretation. The boy brushed the edge of something vast tonight. Dumbledore will call it destiny. I call it a hunt. The predator is moving. I lock my office door, pour a vial of calming draught into the fire, and watch the flames turn green. In the smoke, I almost see her face again, Lily, lit by the same kind of silver light now stained in the forest. I whisper a promise no one will hear. He will not meet her fate, not while I still breathe. And yet tonight showed me what I have always feared. The Dark Lord is not gone. He is hungry. He is here. The year ends not with exams, but with corridors that breathe like lungs before battle. Rumors ripple through the castle whispers of the stone, shadows of Quirrell, the certainty that danger is no longer waiting but walking. Children sense it, though they misname it. They say monster, curse, prank. They do not yet know the word possession. I take to patrolling every night. My boots know the stone by heart. My wand arm aches from readiness. Each locked door feels thinner, each stair sharper. The air tastes of ozone, the flavor of magic drawn tight. Then it happens. The boy and his shadows vanish from their dormitory. Not even the fat lady can recall them. Gryffindors lie poorly, and their excuses crack under the lightest pressure. The trio has gone hunting. Hunting where I told them not to tread. Hunting something they cannot understand. I cut through the castle toward the 3rd floor, but the door is already ajar. Music drifts faintly, harp spell, faltering. Fluffy is sleeping, too convenient, too rehearsed. The trapdoor stands open like a throat. I cast every ward I know, but the traces tell the story. 3 children descended into Dumbledore's gauntlet of protections, and Quirrell is gone from his chambers. I descend after them, slower, measured. Each chamber has its puzzle, its cruelty dressed as challenge. Vines that constrict like ropes, a storm of winged keys, a chessboard where pieces shatter each other. I trace the aftermath like a detective at a crime scene. Broken plants, a scattered feather, blood smeared on marble. They are ahead and bleeding. When I reach the final door, the wards flare against me. Dumbledore's signature is in every curve of the runes. They bar me entry, even me, because his plan is already moving. He meant for this. He meant for the boy to face the chamber's end alone. I cannot cross. I can only wait. Time stretches until my own heart feels like an hourglass spilling sand. Then footsteps, dragging, uneven. The boy emerges, pale and shaking. His scar burns bright red. His eyes are too old for his age. Behind him, Quirrell lies broken on the stone floor, breath gone, and the stink of foul magic curls from his turban. The boy meets my gaze and flinches, as if I am worse than what he just saw. Perhaps I am. Perhaps he is right. I escort him upward, silent. Dumbledore waits at the hospitalwing.com as ever. He thanks me with eyes, not words, as though obedience is reward enough. I want to scream at him. I want to demand why a child was thrown against a predator. But I say nothing. I bow my head. I become again what I always am told: spy, shield, villain. Later, when the castle sleeps, I stand in the empty corridor outside the forbidden door. The wards collapse, now unnecessary. The harp is silent. Fluffy is gone. Only dust remains. The stone has vanished. Dumbledore will spin some tale about protection, about victory, about the greater good. The children will feast and laugh as if nothing cracked in them tonight. But I saw it. I saw the boy brush against death and live. That kind of survival is not clean. It leaves stains invisible to all but men like me. I return to my office, ink staining my fingers, and write a single word in the margin of my notes. Return, because I can feel it already. The Dark Lord is not done. The stone was only his first breath back into this world, and I will not have enough breath to stop him when he takes his next. Summer leaves, and the castle inhales its new year with a sound of trunks dragged across stone. I watch them file back in, taller by inches, but not by wisdom. Children never return the same, but neither do they return ready. They come carrying rumors of the last year's finale. The stone turned into legend already. The boy cast as hero, whether he likes it or not. Hero, the word curdles on my tongue. Heroes are corpses decorated after the fact. I sit at the high table as the sorting hat performs its ritual theater. I note faces, names, lineages. Malfoy smirks, already proud of being second year with influence. Longbottom quakes, still, though less so. Granger gleams with hunger for answers no one else thought to ask. Weasley bellows to be noticed, and the boy Potter slips into his seat, carrying the weight of whispers heavier than his trunk. The feast swells with noise. Dumbledore jokes. Minerva beams. Hagrid wipes at his beard with sleeves meant for other labors. But beneath the roast meats and sparkling cider, the castle thrums differently this year. It knows something in its belly is stirring. The old pipes carry a hiss I cannot ignore. The first clue comes not to me, but to the children. Voices in walls. Words no one else hears. The boy claims whispers speak of killing. He confides to friends, not to teachers. Why would he? Adults failed him often enough. I hear of it second-hand, carried by rumor, filtered through Slytherins who mock and Gryffindors who fear. My suspicion sharpens. The Chamber of Secrets, an old story, a taunt buried in the school's foundation. I studied its legends as a student, convinced that knowledge might grant me entrance to power. I never found proof. Now proof walks the halls in the form of petrified animals, stiff as glass, eyes wide as coins. The faculty gathers, voices clashing, fear bleeding through their professionalism. Filch wails when his cat is the first victim. He accuses Potter, naturally too eager to blame the boy who shines. I say nothing, though I see the tension in Dumbledore's jaw. He knows the chamber's opening is no prank. He knows it speaks of bloodlines and war, patrol more than ever. My wand arm aches, my nights blur. The walls themselves feel ready to split. In the dungeons, the Slytherins whisper pride at the idea their house might hold the heir of Slytherin. They do not understand that pride curdles into grave dirt quickly. One evening, while grading scrolls, I pause. The castle exhales sharply, like a gasp. Far above, a scream cuts through the air. I race toward it, cloak a lash of shadow behind me. At the corner by the library, I find another victim, a first year, frozen mid-run, eyes wide in terror, body rigid. Students crowd, gawking, shrieking. I scatter them with a snarl. The boy stands among them, pale, shaken, guilty though innocent. He looks at me, waiting for condemnation. I give him none, only silence, cold as stone. Inside my thoughts burn. The monster is real. The chamber has opened. The question is no longer if, it is who. And in my bones a chill deeper than dungeon air, because some secrets I chased as a child are no longer myths. They are awake, and they are hunting. Would you like me to continue the Chamber of Secrets arc across several chapters, letting it build through the dueling club, the diary, and the final descent? The dueling platform rises in the great hall like a gallows with better polish. Lockhart calls it an exhibition, a lesson in self-defense. I call it theater. He preens under the candles, his robes gleaming, his teeth brighter than his spells. The students lap it up celebrity as curriculum. Behind my mask of disdain, I watch closely, because performance can still reveal truths. And tonight, I want to see how Potter reacts under fire. Lockhart waves me forward, thinking himself clever. He believes pairing me against him will prove his own prowess when he survives. He does not realize that survival depends entirely on my restraint. A flick of my wand, a muttered curse, sharp enough to slice stone, and he goes sprawling. Gasps and laughter ripple across the hall. His dignity cracks. Good students must learn that glamour is brittle. Then he insists Potter take the stage. Malfoy joins him with relish, hungry for spectacle. The crowd presses forward, eyes wide, whispers flying. I feel the castle lean in too, listening harder. Draco conjures a serpent. Its coils slap against the boards, scales glistening under torchlight. The students scream, some clapping, some retreating. Lockhart bungles his response. Of course, his charm backfires, tossing him into the air. The snake slithers toward a terrified boy in the front row. And then it happens. Potter speaks. Not in words the crowd understands, but in a hiss that slinks through the air like oil. The snake freezes, head cocked, listening. Students gape. They hear only sound. I hear language. The hall erupts in panic. Fear snapping through the ranks like fire across dry grass. Parcelled hang the mark of Slytherin, the tongue of the Dark Lord. Every child now looks at Potter as though the heir has unmasked himself. My face remains carved from stone. Inside, my mind races. If the boy truly speaks to serpents, then he stands at the edge of an abyss I know too well. Power mistaken for destiny, fear mistaken for fate. He is already hunted by whispers. This will turn whispers into knives. The duel is ended in chaos. Students mutter, glare, scatter. Potter stands in the center of it all, bewildered, angry, betrayed by his own mouth. I see Lily in his eyes, James in his stubborn jaw, and Voldemort in the hiss that still echoes in my ears. Back in my dungeon office, I pace. The parchment on my desk fills with questions I do not want to ask. Did Dumbledore know? Is this why he lets the boy walk into danger again and again? Is Harry Potter savior or successor? I burn the parchment before the ink dries. Some questions cannot be left lying around where anyone might read them. The castle is no longer whispering, it is hissing, and the boy may not be able to tell which voice belongs to him. The castle has grown teeth. Since the night of the duel, the air in the corridors tastes of suspicion, Parseltang. The word runs on every tongue like venom. Gryffindors deny it, Hufflepuffs mutter it in dread. Ravenclaws turn it into essays of speculation, and my Slytherins puff themselves up with smug pride. They whisper that perhaps the boy who lived was always one of theirs in disguise. I strip points from them until the counters bleed silver, but their whispers survive the lash of discipline. Words are harder to kill than men. Potter carries the rumors like a shroud. He tries to keep his chin raised, but I see the edges, shoulders tight, eyes scanning corners. That flicker of doubt that eats boys alive faster than curses. I despise how much I recognize it. He does not know how loneliness stains a person. He will. The attacks continue. Another student frozen, eyes wide, mouth caught forever in a scream. The hallways stink of panic now. Teachers patrol in pairs. Students clutch talismans that will not save them. And Dumbledore's calm assurances are starting to sound like lullabies sung over an empty cradle. One evening, I find Potter and his friends lurking where they should not. They always are. Mud on their shoes lies ready on their tongues. They are not hunters. They are children fumbling in a maze of secrets, but they think themselves sleuths. Their fear has curdled into curiosity. I want to shake them, tell them that curiosity is a blade that turns in your hand. But instead I snarl and send them away. Better they think I hate them than suspect I am terrified for them. That night sleep refuses me. I pace my office, candles sputtering in the damp. The shelves around me glimmer with bottled light, potions meant to heal or harm depending on who holds the vial. I stare at them and wonder which I will need first, because the pattern is too precise. The victims, those born to Muggle families, those with blood, Voldemort would despise. The chamber is not just store it, is awake. The monster inside it hunts by instruction, not instinct. And that means someone, some heir, has taken up the old key. I remember being young in these halls, scouring every dusty archive for hints of the chamber. I wanted it to be true, not because I craved blood, but because proof of its existence would have given me power. If a boy from Spinner's End could unlock Slytherin's chamber, then perhaps he could matter. I found nothing. Now I wish I had. At least I might know what bleeds through the cracks. The corridors listen as I walk them. On certain nights, they echo with faint hissing that slithers just beyond translation. I close my eyes and strain to hear, but all I catch is the pulse of the castle, heartbeat slow, wary. Parseltang carries differently than other languages it clings. It coils. The boy hears it. I believe him. And that frightens me more than if he were lying. The staff meets in secret, voices frayed with dread. Sprout wrings her earth-stained hands. Flitwick frets in syllables that spark. McGonagall speaks sharp as broken glass, demanding action. And Dumbledore listens, beard like frost, eyes lit with some private fire. He does not deny the danger. He does not dispel the fear. He simply waits, as if he expects the answer to walk into his office wearing glasses and a lightning scar. I want to rage at him. I want to demand why a boy must carry a burden older than the castle itself. But I say nothing. I wear silence like armor. They all think me callous, cold, unfeeling. Let them. Better that than show how the thought of Lily's son, facing a monster older than his ancestors, curdles my marrow. One night I hear the hiss myself, not from walls, from the floor under my boots. A voice sliding through the pipes, words curling into meaning. Blood, cleanse, kill. My mark flares on my arm, not in heat but in memory, as though the Dark Lord himself were whispering through stone. My wand is in my hand before I realize it. The corridor is empty. The castle only breathes. Find myself outside the hospital wing. Another child lies there, stiff as a statue, hand outstretched, as if it tried to block what it could not see. Potter is there too, sitting by the bed, his expression carved from guilt. He looks up at me, waiting for accusation. I give him none. Instead, I look at the petrified child and think of Lily, of how icily innocence turns into corpses when monsters are given paths to walk. I leave before the boy can ask me why my face has softened. The chamber is open, the monster is loose, and the air walks these halls, cloaked in a student's smile. I vow to find him before the castle does, because the castle, when it hunts, does not leave survivors. Snow crusts the windows, but the castle is fever-hot with fear. The attacks mount, parchment nailed to walls screams. Enemies of the air, beware. Students huddle in packs, whispers sharper than curses. Even Slytherins, smug at first, now glance over their shoulders. The castle is shrinking inward, folding like a clenched fist. The governors suspend Dumbledore. They want a scapegoat, and the headmaster is convenient. I hear it in the staff room. The shuffle of signatures on a decree, the muttered relief of men who think parchment can banish monsters. Lucius Malfoy's signature bleeds across the page, smug as perfume. Dumbledore accepts it with maddening calm, his eyes twinkling at me, as though he is already 3 moves ahead on a board no one else can see. He leaves me with no instruction beyond the look that says, "Hold the line." The line is crumbling. Students bolt from classrooms. Filch patrols with a whip of chains he never had leave to use before. Peeves chants rhymes of death, delighted. McGonagall shoulders the weight of the school with steel in her jaw. But even she looks toward me in counsel and says, in her clipped tone, "We are losing them." I stalk the halls, cloak a shadow, wand always ready. The hissing comes more often now, riding the pipes like a current. I cannot catch it. It slithers away whenever I press too near, mocking me. And then the worst, a double attack. Granger, brightest of her year, lies petrified with a library book still clutched in her rigid hand. Beside her, a Ravenclaw boy, equally stiff, mouth frozen in horror. 2 children struck down in the heart of our bastion of knowledge. The message is clear. Nowhere is safe, not even learning. The hospital wing fills with bodies that should be breathing. A row of silent statues in school robes. Pomfrey tends them with shaking hands, though nothing she does can undo it. I stand among them, a warder in a gallery of innocence turned stone. Potter and Weasley hover at the edges. Granger's absence guts them. I catch the boy looking at her frozen face with the hollow stare of someone who blames himself. good guilt is armor. It keeps fools from rushing headlong. I hope it slows him, but I know better. He will keep moving. He will dig and pry, and throw himself into the serpent's mouth, because that is what Gryffindors do, and because the world seems determined to make him replay every mistake of the generation before him. That night, I sit in my office and spread parchment across the desk. Names, dates, patterns. I cross-reference victims with timetables, bloodlines, routes through the castle. A picture emerges vague, yet damning. The attacks align with Potter's movements. Always he is near. Always he hears what others cannot. The staff whisper the same suspicion behind closed doors. Perhaps the boy is not only target, but tool. I do not dismiss it. I cannot. But I remember Lily. I remember her fury when anyone doubted her son. I remember her trust placed in me like a blade against my throat. And I tell myself, no, Harry is not the heir. He is bait. Still, when I write my report for the staff meeting, my quill hesitates before the line that names suspects. I leave it blank, because if I write the name Potter, the castle might decide it is true. And if the castle decides, even I will not be able to save him. Would you like me to carry the next chapter into the descent toward the chamber itself? Ginny taken. The diary exposed, or should I stretch the tension across a few more chapters first, showing Snape's tightening suspicion and the mounting terror in the school? The scream comes not from a throat, but from the walls. By morning it is everywhere. A student taken, not petrified, not spared for later healing. Taken, Ginny Weasley, the youngest, swallowed into the belly of the castle itself. The chamber has claimed a living hostage. The great hall curdles into silence as the news spreads. Children tremble. Teachers trade glances that mean despair. McGonagall's voice is brittle as she announces classes suspended, patrols doubled, dormitories locked. She does not say what we all know, that one child has already been chosen for the grave. The staff gathers in council. Sprout wrings soil-stained hands. Flitwick paces atop a stack of books. Lockhart preens, declaring he knows exactly how to proceed. His arrogance is the mask of a coward. McGonagall's eyes slice him open, but still he babbles. Then the staff, weary, desperate, press the task onto him. Let him be the sacrifice. If he goes to the chamber and dies, at least we rid ourselves of a fraud. I remain silent, not because I believe in his lies, but because Dumbledore's absence has bound my tongue. The governors cast him out, and the castle grows sicker without him. His plans, his foresight, his leash on Megon. I cannot move openly. I can only wait, seethe, guard the children with a mask of cruelty that hides my true war. But the boy does not wait. Of course he does not. I feel his absence before anyone reports it. The Gryffindor table is too quiet. Weasley is missing too. I trace their path through whispers, through the castle's pulse. Downward, always downward, toward the pipes. In my mind I see Lily, face pale with fury, shouting that I must protect her son. I see James laughing, daring me to try. and I see the boy walking straight into the monster's throat, fearless and foolish, because fate seems determined to make him a mirror of his father with his mother's eyes. I race for the dungeons, cloak flaring, but the wards resist me. The chamber does not open for me. It opens only for Parseltime, only for the error, the one destiny mistakes for him. So I wait, I prowl, I burn with helplessness. Hours drag like years. I imagine the boy lying broken in tunnels older than the founders. I imagine the basilisk coiled around him, eyes wide, fangs dripping. I imagine myself failing, vow shattered, Lily gone from me a second time. Then word reaches us. The chamber has been opened and closed again. The monster slain. Ginny alive. The diary destroyed. And Potter, the boy, emerges, blood-stained, exhausted, alive. Again, always again. The staff swarm him with praise. McGonagall trembles with relief. Lockhart is gone. Memories eaten by his own backfired spell. The school celebrates resurrection. I do not. In the shadows of my dungeon, I stare into a vial of basilisk venom, smuggled back by students braver than wise. Its glow is faint, but its promise is eternal. Destruction absolute. I cork it, set it beside my notes. The Dark Lord is not finished. The diary proved that a fragment of him lived and breathed through a child, a piece of soul clawing for rebirth. And Harry Potter destroyed it without even knowing what it was. The war has not ended. It has only shifted. And I, bound by vow and guilt, must be ready for when the next peace rises. The escape comes in whispers first, carried on owl wings that leave droppings of fear on every breakfast table. Sirius Black has broken out of Azkaban. The children gasp, hungry for scandal. They whisper that he killed a street of muggles with a single curse, that he betrayed the Potters, that he sleeps with madness in his eyes and murder in his hands. For them, it is a story to pass around toast and pumpkin juice. For me, it is an old wound, splitting open, raw and infected. Black, my tormentor, my rival, my almost executioner, a man who once laughed with his friends as he dragged me toward a werewolf's teeth. A man who chose cruelty as easily as other men choose laughter. And now the Ministry, in its usual incompetence, has let him slip the leash of Azkaban. I pace my office, the walls too close, the torches too dim. Bottles rattle on shelves as if they to remember his name. The mark on my arm does not burn, but my skin crawls as though his shadow reaches even here. For 12 years he rotted in a cell of despair, and I allowed myself to believe that was justice. Now he is free, and justice feels like another joke the marauders left for me to choke on. The castle reacts like a body sensing infection. Dementors guard the gates, their breath freezing the very grass. Students huddle wide-eyed, whispering about cloaked figures that suck warmth from the air. Even I, schooled in acclimacy and bitterness, feel their presence like knives under the skin. The children cannot endure it, Potter least of all. I see him pale and trembling whenever they draw near, though he tries to mask it. Of course he does. He thinks trembling is weakness. He does not yet know that trembling is simply truth. But at the staff table, Dumbledore wears calm like a mask, stitched too tightly. He insists the children are safe, that black cannot breach Hogwarts. But I know better. No wall is absolute. No ward is flawless. I have spent my life slipping through cracks others thought sealed. If I can do it, so can black. And my vow gnaws at me. Protect the boy. Protect him from the Dark Lord. But how do I protect him from the past? From ghosts that wear human faces. From a marauder with vengeance in his marrow. Classes stagger on my dungeon fills with cauldrons. Steam rising like ghosts. I bark and sneer, stripping points, lashing out with words sharp enough to keep distance. Yet all the while, my ears strain for whispers of black. My eyes flicked to shadows at the windows. I am a man-split teacher on the surface, hunter beneath. The night of the first Quidditch match, the Dementors descend on the pitch. The crowd shrieks, the sky ices over, and Potter falls. From the stands, I see it all his broom jerking, his body limp plummeting like a stone. For an instant, my heart stops. Lily's son is falling. Lily's son is going to die because the Ministry's pets cannot control their hunger. My wand is already raised, words half-shaped, but Dumbledore moves faster, a cushion charm billowing beneath him. The boy lives. Bye. Leave the pitch before the cheering resumes. My hands shake in my sleeves. 12 years of discipline cannot stop the tremor. I tell myself it is anger. I do not admit it is fear. And then the reports. Black has been seen inside the castle. A Gryffindor tower slashed open. Beds ripped. Curtains torn. The fat lady's portrait shredded by a knife. Students scream and huddle. Teachers run patrols until dawn. We find nothing. But he was here. He was here. I stand in the common room after the children have been herded away, staring at claw marks in fabric. My mind reels. Did he come for Potter? For revenge on the boy who survived when James did not? Or did he come for me, the enemy left alive, the boy he never managed to kill? Sleep flees from me. I stalk the corridors at night, a predator searching for another predator. The castle hums with tension. Portraits whisper. Staircases freeze mid-turn, as though listening. The forest crouches under the weight of Dementors, and even the lake groans as though choked with ice. But it is the boy I watch most, Potter. He walks through this chaos with his chin stubbornly lifted, eyes darting. He is not afraid of Blacknot truly. He is afraid of weakness, of the way his body fails under Dementor breath. He wants to fight. He wants to prove himself James's son. I see him and my chest aches with the memory of Lily, of how she stood between him and death once already. I want to shout at him, to hide, to flee, to let others bleed in his stead. But he would not listen. James would not have listened. And Lily would have been proud of his courage, even as it destroyed her. So I do what I always do. I become the villain. I lash him with cruelty in the classroom. I strip his victories into shame. I drive him to anger because anger is safer than arrogance. Let him hate me. Let him survive. Hatred has kept me alive this long. Yet when I lie awake, listening to the castle's breath, I cannot silence the truth. Sirius Black is inside the walls, and if I find him, I will kill him. Not for vengeance, not for justice, for Lily, for the boy, for the vow that chains me. Because if Black touches Harry Potter, then Severus Snape will show the world that his cruelty has teeth, paw, and blood. The night pulls me like a leash toward the shrieking shack. The castle thrums with alarm students herded back to dormitories, teachers scattering into the dark with wands drawn. Black has slipped through again, deeper this time. He has the boy, he has Potter. I know it before anyone says the words. It is the shape of fate repeating itself, mocking me. Lily's son, cornered by the same predator who betrayed his parents. I move faster than thought, cloak lashing at my heels, breath tight as wire. Each step is a drumbeat of rage. I see James laughing in the corridors, Sirius at his side, wand raised to humiliate me, their cruelty dressed as charm. I see the shackles of my vow, the sneer on Dumbledore's face the night I begged him to hide them, the night I condemned Lily by accident, and I see her son dragged into the maw of the same nightmare. When I burst into the shack, the room stinks of dust, splintered wood, and secrets too long kept. There they are, Potter, his red-haired shadow, the Granger girl, and Black, alive, ragged eyes burning. The sight of him is a curse, ripping 12 years open in my skull. My wand is up before I breathe. Every word I have practiced in fury for over a decade coils on my tongue. The curse that will end him trembles at the edge of release. But the boy shouts. The children swarm between us, voices tangled in panic. They do not understand. They think me the danger. Then another shadow steps out. Lupin, Remus Lupin, mild-eyed professor, liar, betrayer. I see the truth. At once the old gang reunited, marauders reborn. My jaw locks. Rage burns so hot it steadies my hand. I snarl the words, my wand aimed straight at Black's heart, and the children beg me to stop. They insist there is more. They babble about Pettigrew, about a rat, about betrayal not belonging to Black at all. Pettigrew, coward, who fawned at James's feet. The boy Weasley's pet. It is lunacy. It must be lunacy. I spit at them, call them deceived, bewitched, but their voices hammer, desperate, insistent, relentless. My fury does not falter. I bind Black and Lupin with ropes conjured from the dark. I tell Potter he will thank me one day. He does not. His eyes blaze with the same defiance. James once turned on me in every corridor, and then humiliation. They turn on me. Children I swore to protect. My wand arm jerks, a flash, and I am disarmed, bound, gagged, left helpless while they listen to Black's lies, Lupin's lies. Pettigrew crawls from his cage, truth gnawing at my denial until the foundations shake. The traitor was never Black. The traitor was always Pettigrew. Rage collapses into cold, bitter ash. My body strains against ropes. My mind splits under the weight of fury and shame. I was wrong. I have been wrong for 12 years. I wanted vengeance so badly, I blinded myself to the truth. The night spirals further transformations, moons, beasts. Chaos tears the shack apart. Pettigrew escapes. Black flees. Lupin reveals himself a monster and resigns in disgrace. And one Severus Snape am left to carry back to the castle a story no one will believe, and a humiliation that will never fade. I escort the children back, lips tight, fury strangled behind composure. They think me petty. They think me cruel. Let them. If they saw the crack inside me, they would laugh, just as the marauders laughed once. Back in my office, I slam the door and breathe only smoke. The vow claws at me. I kept the boy alive, but not by wisdom, not by foresight, by accident, by failure. And Sirius Black still breathes. That knowledge sits heavier than chains. The ministry calls it a failure. I call it theft. Black slipped through our fingers. The castle trembles from the scandal. Parents howl by owl post, and Fudge struts as though paperwork will seal cracks in the walls. He blames Dementors, blames weather, blames everything except the truth that Hogwarts is no fortress when children themselves invite the storm. I stand before him in the hospital wing, the boy still pale from the night's chaos. I give my account in clipped, venomous words. I describe Black's treachery, Lupin's deception, the escape through hidden tunnels. I expect gratitude for surviving, for dragging Potter back alive, for carrying the weight of truth no one else would face. Instead, I see doubt in Dumbledore's eyes. Doubt and worse sympathy for Black. Dumbledore insists the boy and his friends have seen something I will not admit. He dares suggest Black might not be guilty. He looks at me as though pleading for me to soften, to yield, to let go of 12 years of rage. He should know better. Rage is all that remains of my youth. Without it, I would be nothing but ash and apologies. The children, emboldened, glare at me as though I am the villain. Potter's stare burns with James's insolence. Granger looks at me as if she could argue me into silence. Weasley trembles but holds his ground. They know I was bound and humiliated in the shack. Children smell weakness, and they will never forget. I report. I rage. I demand Black's pursuit. Fudge waves me aside. Dumbledore counsels patience. Patience, while the man who once nearly killed me walks free. Patience, while Lily's son smiles faintly at the thought of his godfather. Godfather. The word drips poison into my ears. When term ends and the children scatter, I remain in my dungeon, the silence thick with ghosts. Bottles line the walls like soldiers waiting for orders. My mark itches, not with heat, but with memory reminding me that vengeance is a chain as heavy as loyalty. I prepare potions late into the night, my quill scratching lists of ingredients that no student will ever see. Drafts for clarity, for silence, for war. I do not know yet what battles wait, but I feel them pressing closer. The world has tilted, and Black's escape proves it. Voldemort is not yet returned, but his shadow lengthens. And Potter, always Potter. He will walk straight into the dark with that cursed Gryffindor arrogance. He will think himself immortal, because the world keeps sparing him. He will test my vow until it snaps, or until I do. So I sharpen my cruelty. I polish my mask. I bury my shame under layers of disdain, until even I cannot find the wound. Let them think I am bitter, jealous, petty. They are not wrong, but let them also remember that I am watchful, that I am dangerous, because next time the past claws open a door in this castle, I intend to be waiting on the other side with wand raised, and no hesitation left. Summer settles on the castle like dust on an abandoned book. The children are gone. The echo of their chatter has faded, replaced by the soft scurry of rats in the walls, the sigh of draughts through unlit corridors. To others, Hogwarts empty might feel holy. To me, it feels like a womb. I walk its veins alone, patrolling halls that no longer need patrolling. My boots strike stone in rhythm with my thoughts, thoughts that circle Sirius black like vultures. He should be dead. 12 years in Azkaban should have broken him into silence. But he escaped. He survived. He taunted me in the shack, lived to sneer another day, and 𝒍𝒆𝒑 defended him. Lily's son, shield raised not against black, but against me. It is not the first betrayal. It will not be the last. I haunt my office. The air is thick with the musk of potion fumes, bitter herbs drying in bundles, the faint metallic temps of ground 𝒍𝒆𝒑. I catalogue and recatalogue my stores, because routine is the only cage that holds the mind. Ingredients have weight, they obey. They do not laugh in corridors, or vanish through secret passages, or undo 12 years of certainty with a single word. Innocent. I grind hellebore into fine powder, and the pestle feels like a wand striking bone. I brew a draught of dreamless sleep, though I will never drink it. I line the shelves with antidotes to venoms. Only I remember how to make. Preparing for war feels safer than admitting how much of me is still trapped in the shrieking shack, bound by ropes conjured by children's hands. When sleep comes, it is shallow. Dreams twist with the past. James laughing, Sirius jeering, Lupin watching with guilty eyes, Pettigrew snivelling in the background. Then Lily, always Lily, her voice sharp with anger, soft with forgiveness, vanishes before I can answer. I wake with her name bitten into my tongue, blood drawn by my own teeth. I write letters I never send, to Dumbledore, accusations laced with questions, to the governors, demands for better wards, better guards, to no one. A confession that hatred is the only thing keeping me alive. By dawn, I burn them all. Ash coats the rim of the grate like accusation. Outside, the lake mirrors the sky, smooth and blank, as though it knows what is coming. The world is shifting. My mark has not yet burned, but my bones remember the rhythm of war, and they throb with it now. Something is stirring. Black's escape was no accident. It was a herald. I stand on the astronomy tower one night, the air thin and cold. The stars sprawl indifferent above me. I think of Lily, of the vow of the boy who carries her eyes but not her judgment, and I whisper into the wind, so softly even the castle cannot overhear. When the Dark Lord returns and you had better be ready, Potter, or I will break myself in the attempt to make you so. The night swallows the words. The vow burns quietly in my marrow, and the silence of the empty castle feels like a held breath waiting to shatter. The summer ends with fire on the horizon. The Ministry trumpets the Quidditch World Cup as a triumph of Unity banners flapping. Foreign wizards arriving in droves, families dragging trunks through campgrounds that reek of smoke and butterbeer. I walk among them as Dumbledore's reluctant envoy, cloak pulled close, wand always near. They cheer, they laugh, they gamble. I listen for whispers. The match itself is chaos dressed in glory. Ireland soars on skill. Bulgaria snarls on brute force. Crumb dives like a hawk that has never known fear. Children shriek in delight, their faces painted, their voices roar. Potter is among them, starstruck, dazzled. For a moment, I almost envy his ability to lose himself in spectacle. Almost, then night falls, and the masks come out. Their eyes from the trees like shadows, given purpose, Death Eaters, cowards in cloaks. Their laughter jagged as they drag muggles screaming into the air. Families scatter, fires lick tents into black skeletons. The air fills with a stench of burning cloth and panic. My mark burns for the first time in years. Not a memory, not a phantom itch. Real heat crawling up my arm, alive. It feels like iron shoved into my skin. My stomach twists. The vow claws against the dark mark's pull. Two chains dragging me in opposite directions. I grind my teeth until they creak. I move through the chaos, wand raised, stunning where I can, scattering shadows where they gather. The Ministry blunders about, hexes flashing wild. Children sob in the dark. I glimpse Potter fleeing with Weasley and Granger, eyes wide, scar blazing in torchlight, always at the center, always hunted, whether he knows it or not. Then the sky splits. A shape burns above the treetops, the mark, the skull and serpent branded into the clouds, bright enough to turn night into memory. Wizards scream, some in terror, some in awe. I stand frozen beneath it, every nerve screaming. The Dark Lord's sign, reborn. The Ministry descends in fury, hexing shadows, binding suspects. They drag innocents into lines, snapping questions, demanding confessions. I offer no comfort. My own arm still burns, and I cannot let them see the tremor in my hands. They would not understand that I have been bound to two masters since the night I begged Dumbledore for forgiveness. When the fires die, the camp is ash. Families limp away, clutching children, dragging trunks half-burned. Fudge blusters about control. Crouch bellows orders like a man already cracking. And Dumbledore watches me with those infernal eyes, as if to remind me. The war has only paused. It has not ended. Back in my quarters at Hogwarts, I strip off my sleeve and stare at the mark. Faded, yes, but darker than it was yesterday. The skin around it raw from heat. It throbs like a wound that has only begun to bleed again. I press my palm over it until I cannot feel anything but pain. Pain is better than dread. Pain is at least honest. The boy will arrive soon, carrying no idea of what the mark in the sky means. No idea of what my mark means. He will eat his feast, laugh at the tournament, chase glory, and I will sit at the high table, silent, burning, waiting for the moment the Dark Lord steps out of shadow and into flesh again. And when he does, I will be dragged back into the pit with him. The only question is whether I climb back out alive or whether I drag Potter with me. The castle opens its doors to spectacle, and I loathe every inch of it. Banners hang from the rafters, bright as spilled blood. Foreign carriages thunder onto the grounds. Ships rise steaming from the lake. 𝒍𝒆𝒑 glides in with silken grace. Durmstrang stomps in with fire and menace. Students gape, cheer, point. They believe it is wonder. I see only bait. Dumbledore smiles as though he has not invited death into the great hall. He spreads his arms, welcomes champions from every corner of Europe, and explains the rules of the tournament as if they are a lesson in courtesy rather than cruelty. The students drink in his every word. They do not see the hunger in his eyes. He wants to test them. He always wants to test them. The goblet of fire burns in its pedestal, blue flame licking high. It hums with ancient magic, binding and merciless. The champions step forward, names flaring from parchment, cheers rising like thunder. Cedric Diggory, handsome, noble, perfect Hufflepuff. Fleur Delacour turned into weapons. Victor Crumdumstrang's brutal star. The students swoon. The teachers applaud. And then Potter. His name spits from the goblet in sparks and ash. A fourth champion, where only 3 should be. The hall erupts. Shock, outrage, envy, and the boy himself eyes wide, stunned. No hint of triumph, only confusion. Bile rise in my throat. Not because I think he cheated, though part of me wants to believe it wants to punish him for arrogance inherited from James, but because this is design. This is a hand unseen, shoving him forward again and again. Always into the maw of danger. Always into the dark. The staff gathers in Dumbledore's office. Voices clash. Accusations fly. Karkaroff snarls betrayal. Madame Maxime fumes with pride wounded. McGonagall demands Potter's withdrawal. I speak venom, dripping contempt, suggesting fame, attention, arrogance. The boy flinches at every word. Good, let him feel the weight of it. Hatred may shield him better than sympathy, but Dumbledore's voice cuts through, calm. Final, Potter will compete. The goblet has spoken. The contract is sealed. And I see it then, the twinkle in his eyes, not as mirth, but as calculation. He wanted this, or he is willing to use it. And I am once again a tool in his hand, meant to sharpen the boy without ever explaining why. Later, in my dungeon, the mark burns faintly. Not the searing fire of the cup's night, but a slow throb, as if echoing the goblet's flare. It is Voldemort's laughter, faint but undeniable. His hand is in this. It must be. I imagine him, half-live, whispering instructions to some servant, planting Potter's name in flame. I imagine him smiling as the boy stumbles forward into yet another trap, Porge, and I realize the truth that curdles my blood. The tournament is not a game, it is a sacrifice, and I, bound by vow and by hate, must ensure that when the Dark Lord reaches out to claim his prize, Harry Potter is not the one who dies screaming. The first trial is fire. Whispers race faster than owls, dragons. The word spreads through the castle with the thrill of scandal, terror wrapped in awe. Students chatter, staff frown, and Dumbledore's silence confirms everything. Dragons. He will throw children against dragons. I watch the boy more closely than I mean to. He drifts through the corridors, pale, distracted, fending off jeers and questions with a silence too sharp for his age. I know that look. It is the look of someone already rehearsing their own funeral. The morning of the task. The arena hums with expectation. Wooden stands rise like gallows, filled with eager eyes. Flags snap in the wind, gaudy colors masking the reek of fear that clings to every corner. I take my place among the judges, cloak wrapped tight, expression carved from disdain. Inside, my stomach coils. The champions face their beasts one by one. Fleur, graceful even when terrified. Crumb, grim jaw set as he hurls curse after curse. Diggory, noble determination masking desperation. Each emerges singed, shaken, but alive. The crowd roars as if this were mere sport. They do not understand that the tournament is less about victory than survival, than Potter. They hand him his wand and shove him forward. He looks so small, so breakable, his hair a black flame against the sky. The crowd hushes, then murmurs, then laughs. They think him spectacle. I think him dead. The dragon unfurls like a nightmare, wings cracking the air, fire belching from a throat older than human memory. The boy stands frozen for a heartbeat, and my chest seizes. Lily's eyes widen, James's jaw clenches, Voldemort's shadow hisses all, in the face of fire. Then he moves. He calls his broom, foolish, daring Gryffindor to the marrow. The broom streaks into the arena, and the boy takes to the air. The crowd roars approval, voices colliding into a wave. I cannot join them. My eyes track only him, each dive, each dodge, each moment when flame almost eats him whole. He is reckless, he is brilliant, he is alive. At the climax, he snatches the golden egg, fire licking his heels, smoke streaking his hair with ash. He lands, shaking, chest heaving, but standing. The crowd erupts, stamping, screaming his name. I clench my hands so tightly my nails draw blood. Relief tastes like poison. The judges scribble, hold up scores. Bagman beams, Karkaroff scowls. Madame Maxime murmurs praise. I scrawl my number without care, because none of this matters. He survived. That is the only mark worth keeping. Later, when the boy limps into the infirmary, Pomfrey clucking, friends cheering, I watch from the shadows of the doorway. He laughs weakly at their words, but his hands tremble. He hides it. He thinks no one notices, but I see. I always see. I turn away before he can sense me. He must not know. He must never know, because tomorrow he will face worse than dragons. And I cannot let him think there is anyone waiting to catch him if he falls. The castle dresses itself in jewels while war sharpens its knives outside. Snow frosts the windows, candles drip wax like blood, and students buzz like bees drunk on sugar. The Yule Ball is coming. They speak of nothing else. Dresses, partners, dances. They treat it as salvation. I treat it as insult. Children prancing in silk, while the Dark Lord gathers shadows. Patrol the corridors as invitations ripple through the school. Weasley whines about partners. Granger hides triumph behind studied nonchalance, and Potter stumbles about as though the very idea of girls is a curse. I watch him from the corner of my eye. He survived a dragon, yet this simple social ritual unmans him. It almost makes me laugh, almost. On the night itself, the great hall glitters. Icicles hang from enchanted rafters. Snow falls and vanishes before it touches the ground. The band howls through instruments half transfigured from beasts. Students swirl in robes bright enough to blind. The air reeks of perfume, sugar, sweat. I stand sentinel at the edge, arms folded, face carved from disdain. To them, I am the spectre that reminds them fun has limits. To me, they are lambs dancing before the slaughter. Potter appears in dress robes too big for him, hair untamable even under the threat of pomade. He looks absurd, nervous, boyish, shanned, yet every eye still drifts to him. The boy who lived cannot fade, not even in rags. His partner blushes, stumbles, clings. He pretends at grace, but I see his hands shake. He wants to be anywhere else. Weasley sulks in maroon lace, jealousy curdling his every movement. Granger appears transformed hair, sleek gown gleaming, confidence blazing. I watch her step into the hall and see jaws drop. Even Crumb, predator on the pitch, watches her like prey worth hunting. The balance shifts in that moment. Children measure each other differently. Rivalries tilt, hearts bruise. All of it meaningless, yet they treat it as prophecy. I sweep the floor for danger while they dance. My mark throbs faintly under the fabric of my sleeve, a pulse reminding me that outside these walls, Death Eaters are stirring. The laughter here is loud, but it cannot drown the sound of war drums. Midnight strikes. Couples slip into corners. Secrets ferment. Fights simmer jealousy, betrayal, pride. Potter storms from the hall, red-haired shadow at his side. Voices raised, faces red. I catch only fragments, egg, cheating. You don't understand. They do not. They will not. They are still children trying to fit into armor that will not save them. I stalk away before the music fades. I descend to my dungeon where no snow falls, no music intrudes. I strip off my robes, bare my arm, and stare at the mark. Darker now, clearer, its edges sharp against my skin. The boy danced tonight, tripped and laughed, sulked and shouted, unaware of the teeth closing round him. He believes his trials are eggs and riddles, schoolyard jealousies and clumsy romance. He does not see that every step of this tournament is a rope tightening around his neck. I do, and the vow binds me tighter with each passing day. The lake is a mirror that does not forgive. For weeks the castle has buzzed with speculation. What will the second task be? Students sharpen theories the way children sharpen sticks, each more absurd than the last. I hear them in the corridors, in the library, whispering riddles about mermaids, water demons, storms. None of them understand the cruelty of ancient magic. The tournament does not ask riddles. It takes. The champions pace like caged beasts. Crumb glares at the water as though he can outstare it. Delacour tosses her hair, feigning calm. Diggory practices charms until his wand arm trembles. And Potter wanders hollow-eyed, clutching that damned golden egg. Still ignorant, still guessing. He will learn too late. He always does. On the morning of the task, the grounds swarm with spectators. Tents ripple along the shore. Banners flap in the cold wind. Voices chatter like birds at dawn. The lake itself lies still, its surface black as obsidian. Beneath it, I feel the pulse of wards humming. Old enchantments roused from centuries of sleep. Bagman bellows the rules with showman's cheer. The champions must retrieve what has been stolen from them. Simple words, cruel meaning. I know what waits under the water. Hostages, innocence. The ministry calls it tradition. I call it barbarism. The whistle shrieks. The champions plunge. Spells flare. Limbs thrash. Water swallows them whole. The crowd leans forward, eager for spectacle. They do not think of lungs starving for air. They do not think of bodies bound in the deep. Minutes crawl. The lake surface ripples once, twice. Then shadows below, faint outlines of bodies drifting. My stomach knots when I see them. Granger, Delacour's sister, Diggory's companion, and Weasley, children, held under as prizes. Weasley slack and pale, hair floating like fire drowned. And Potter dives toward him. The crowd murmurs. Judges lean closer. Potter cuts through the water with frantic strokes, gills sprouting from his neck, desperation in every movement. He reaches Weasley, then Granger, then the others. He does not choose. He does not leave one. He tries to save them all. Fool. His time runs thin. The other champions surface with their prizes, victorious and gasping. Potter lingers below, fighting merfolk, refusing to abandon those not even his to save. I feel fury rise in me, fury and something worse fear. Because he is Lily's son, and Lily would have done the same, and this world kills those who choose mercy over strategy. At last he bursts from the lake, dragging Weasley, choking, shivering, triumphant in spite of himself. The crowd erupts in cheers. Judges argue scores. Bagman crows about heroism, and I mine nails bite my palms until blood wells, because the boy lives again, too reckless to die, too stubborn to surrender. Later, in the infirmary, I stand unseen as Pomfrey clucks over him. He laughs weakly, teeth chattering, friends praising his courage. He shrugs it off, says he could not leave them. Of course he could not. He never will. I turn away before he notices me. Hatred is easier than gratitude. Contempt shields better than comfort. But in the pit of my chest, where vows live, I feel both relief and dread. Because if he keeps choosing mercy, he will not survive the end game. And when that day comes, I will have to decide whether my cruelty can save him, or whether it will destroy us both. The lake may have released its prisoners, but the school still feels drowned. I storm into Dumbledore's office the night after the task. The gargoyle barely has time to step aside. He greets me with that maddening serenity, half buried in piles of parchment, his phoenix crooning from its perch as though to soften what must be said. "You let them bind children beneath the water," I snap. My voice shakes. I tell myself it is rage, not fear. "You let Weasley Granger, those others' innocence serve as trophies." P does not deny it. He never does. Instead, he says it was tradition, centuries old, safe under the rules of the enchantments. Safe. I hear the word like poison. I want to drag him down to the depths himself and hold him there until he admits what he does, what we do costs. More than parchment can tell it. I pace before his desk, cloak snapping. He watches me, eyes gleaming with something I cannot decide is pity or calculation. He speaks of courage, of lessons learned, of how Potter showed a heart willing to save even those not his to claim. "A quality we will need," he murmurs, when the darkness returns. I freeze, because in those words lies truth. He knows. He knows the Dark Lord stirs. He knows the tournament is no mere game. He is shaping Potter, bending him, testing him, and I am complicit, though my role is villain, not mentor. I demand why he cannot shield the boy, instead of hurling him against trials fit for grown men. Dumbledore's gaze sharpens, because he will face worse, Severus, far worse, and he must be ready. The fury drains from me, leaving only a hollow ache. I cannot argue with inevitability. I can only hate it. I descend to my dungeon, the torches burning low, shadows licking stone. My hands tremble as I strip back my sleeve. The mark is darker now, faintly pulsing like a heart that does not belong to me. The lake task was not Voldemort's design, but the magic in the air, the pull on Potter's fate, all of it sings of him. The Dark Lord waits at the edge of flesh, and I feel it in every bone. I sit at my desk, parchment spread before me, ink pooling like blood. I write lists ingredients for antidotes, counter curses, drafts to break enchantments. Then I cross them out, one by one, because none of them can stop what is coming. At last, I write only 2 words. Protect him. The vow is heavier each year. Hatred alone will not carry it. Neither will cruelty. And yet, they are the only weapons I know how to wield. Both, the castle settles into uneasy slumber. Students giggle in dormitories, too young to grasp how close they came to death. The boy sleeps as well, perhaps dreaming of water and mercy. I imagine Lily's face bending over him in those dreams, whispering pride, and I whisper something different in the silence of the dungeon. Fool, brave fool, you will drown yourself one day, and I will be forced to follow. The fire hisses low, the mark burns faintly, and the tournament marches toward its end. Each task another knot in the rope tightening around us all. The maze grew before my eyes like a wound stitched into the earth. The hedges were conjured weeks before the task, sprouting from bare soil overnight, roots driven so deep the castle groaned. I patrolled the perimeter in silence, cloak trailing, wand brushing the air. It breathed wrong. Too much shadow, too little song. The wards that laced it hummed with borrowed malice, not just challenge. A maze is meant to confuse. This one wanted to consume. Students whispered excitedly, as they always do. They spoke of monsters waiting inside, curses to dodge, treasures to seize. They spoke of Diggory's smile, Crumb's scowl, Fleur's grace, Potter's luck. They treated it as a game, forgetting the last task, drowned their friends and left them gasping. Children forget terror quickly when it is not permanent. That is why they remain children. I watched Potter from the edges of my lessons. He practiced spells with his friends, his face drawn tight, his eyes shadowed. He moved differently now, no longer boyish, but not yet adult. Half-forged, he bore the weight of the school's jealousy, suspicion, even hatred. They called him cheat, liar, glory hound. He let it wash over him, silent, shoulders stiff. I recognized the posture. I carried it for years. One evening, I caught him alone in the corridor, clutching his wand, muttering under his breath as though practicing incantations. He startled when he saw me, face tightening with the old mask of defiance. He expected insults. He wanted it. Hatred steadies him the way it steadies me. I obliged. I cut him down with words sharp enough to scar. He glared, jaw clenched. Good, better fury than fear. But when he stormed away, I felt the weight of Lily's gaze burning from behind his eyes. And for one moment, I wanted to call him back, to tell him the maze is more than hedge and shadow, that he must be wary of every step. I bit the words back until my tongue bled. To warn him would be to betray the role I must play. The night came, the stands filled with banners, the crowd a sea of color and hunger. Bagman's voice boomed across the field, swollen with cheer. He announced the champions like gladiators marching into Rome. The hedges loomed high, quivering with enchantment. The champions lined up. Diggory stood tall, pride in his posture. Crumb glared, wand already tight in his fist. Fleur smoothed her robes, eyes sharp, jaw set. And Potter looked small, pale, yet steady. He glanced once toward the stands, where his friends shouted his name. Then he faced the maze. The whistle shrieked. Diggory and Potter entered first, their backs straight, shoulders tense. The hedges swallowed them whole. I sat in the judge's box, outwardly bored, inwardly braced for disaster. My mark itched, not burning, not yet, but restless, alive. I scanned the crowd, the sky, the earth, waiting. Every cheer, every gasp from the spectators landed like a blow. I could not see the boy. I could not hear him. The maze cut sound as surely as it cut sight. All I had was faith, and faith is a liar. Time dragged. The stands grew restless. Bagmen filled silence with cheer that rang false. Karkaroff fidgeted, eyes darting toward the forest, sweat on his brow. Maxime's frown deepened. McGonagall sat stiff, lips white. And Dumbledore's gaze never left the maze calm, as though he expected this, as though he knew what would come. Then the screams began. Students shrieked as shadows shifted inside the hedges. Flashes of light seared the sky where spells collided. The maze shook as though something vast writhed within. The crowd leaned forward, clamoring, but my blood froze. That was not competition. That was war. Minutes later, silence, a scream, another, then nothing, and then two shadows stumbling out. Potter and Diggory, both reaching for the Triwizard Cup together. Wands raised, faces flushed. For a heartbeat, the crowd roared, thinking it noble, heroic. They touched the cup and vanished. Gasps, shouts, panic. The stands erupted, voices clashing, bagmen stammering. Dumbledore shot to his feet, wand slicing the air, eyes blazing. He barked orders, but I heard nothing except the hollow echo in my chest. The boy was gone. Lily's son ripped from the field before my eyes. I stood frozen, every vow in my body screaming failure. My mark throbbed like fire, alive again, laughing at me. He has him. The Dark Lord has him. I did not breathe until the night broke open again. When Potter returned, he was sprawled in the grass, blood soaking his robes, Diggory's corpse beside him. The crowd erupted into chaos. Fudge babbled. McGonagall ran to him. Dumbledore knelt, face drawn tight with sorrow. I stood apart, staring at the boy's trembling body, at the scar blazing red, at the eyes wide with something worse than fear. He whispered one word, broken, hoarse. Voldemort. The world tilted. The nightmare was not waiting anymore. It had already begun. And I knew in that instant that every mask I wore, every cruelty I spun, every ounce of loathing I carried would be tested against the fire of a war reborn. The maze had not just taken him, it had delivered him. And now I must keep him alive through a storm I already know will kill us both. The boy came back with blood on his robes and death at his side, and the world pretended not to see. The body lay in the grass, Diggory eyes wide and unblinking, smiles stolen mid-breath. Children screamed, parents wailed, teachers swarmed, and Potter clutched the corpse as though refusing to surrender him to the grave. His face was pale as parchment. His voice cracked, repeating one word over and over. The name struck like lightning, but the crowd's reaction was worse. Denial, confusion, terror, dressed as disbelief. Fudge blustered, stammered, demanded explanations. Ministry officials shoved the boy aside, as though grief and trauma could be interrogated into silence. He shouted, trembled, raged. They turned from him. They turned from truth. Eyes stood apart, sleeve burning with a heat I had prayed never to feel again. The mark was alive now, not faint, not memory. It throbbed with his return, Voldemort's return. My skin screamed. a brand reignited. The vow in my bones clenched against it, two chains pulling me in opposite directions until I thought my arm would split. Dumbledore's voice cut through the storm, calm, certain. He believed Potter. He declared it before the ministry, before the staff, before the corpses were even cold. Voldemort has returned. His words were a stone dropped into the lake, ripples spreading, waves breaking. Half the room recoiled, half leaned forward, and I closed my eyes, because I knew it was true. I felt it burning into my very flesh. Later, when the corpse was carried away and the children locked trembling in dormitories, I met with Dumbledore alone. His office smelled of ash, the phoenix singing a lament. He looked older than I had ever seen him, his hands trembling slightly on the desk. But his eyes were fire. "It has begun," he said. "You know what you must do." I knew. I had always known. My role was decided long ago. The night I fell on my knees and begged him to protect Lily. Spy, traitor twice over. I must crawl back into the Dark Lord's circle, where the mask of loyalty, bury myself in venom until I forgot the taste of air. It would kill me, perhaps slowly, perhaps suddenly, but it was the only way to shield the boy. I did not argue. I only nodded, though bile rose in my throat. That night I stripped bare in my dungeon and stared at the mark in the torchlight. Black, sharp, vivid as fresh ink. I traced it with shaking fingers, every nerve alive with dread. Soon I would be summoned. Soon I would kneel again before the monster I once served, pretending my soul was still his. But this time I would be carrying a secret. A boy with a scar, a vow forged in Lily's name. The world above feasted in denial. Fudge drafted decrees proclaiming safety, order, control. Parents clung to lies, demanding that Diggory's death be called accident, tragedy, anything but murder. They chose blindness because blindness is easier than fear. But in the shadows we prepared. Dumbledore gathered his allies, rekindled the order. I brewed potions until my fingers blistered, antidotes for poisons not yet brewed, salves for wounds not yet cut, and I steeled myself for the moment when I would apparate into darkness, feel the circle close around me, and face the red eyes I thought I had escaped forever. By the boy Potter lay in the hospital wing, restless, scar aching, dreams broken by screams. I passed by once, unseen. He stirred, muttered Voldemort's name, and clenched his fists. He was not sleeping. He was bracing for war. So was I. The maze was finished, but its shadow stretched far beyond the hedges. It had delivered him into the Dark Lord's hands, and delivered the rest of us into war. And one, Severus Snape, stood once more at the edge of two worlds, both ready to devour me, both demanding the same impossible vow: protect the boy, no matter the cost. The ministry sends us a toad dressed in pink and calls it authority. Dolores Umbridge, a name that tastes like rot even before she opens her mouth. She arrives with laced bows, simpering smiles, and a decree in her hand that chains the castle tighter than any curse. High Inquisitor, she calls herself. A parasite draped in frills, feeding on the fear the ministry refuses to name. The students laugh at her at first. They mimic her voice, her giggle, her simpering cough. But laughter rots quickly. Her decrees multiply like fungi. No groups without permission, no doers, no descent, no freedom that does not pass through her quill. Her punishments cut deeper than detentions. She smiles while children bleed words into their skin. I watch in silence. I sneer. I scowl. I do not intervene, because I cannot. The ministry watches her as she watches me. One slip and suspicion will fall exactly where I cannot afford it. So I play my role, cold, cruel, disdainful. The children curse my name as they curse hers. Good, let them. Hatred is armor, but in the shadows the war deepens. Dumbledore rebuilds his order, gathering those loyal enough to bleed for truth. I answer his summons, cloak drawn tight, words bitter but obedient. I step back into Voldemort's circle when called, kneeling among masked men whose laughter is knives. The mark burns hotter now, a summons I cannot refuse. I bow, I sneer, I lie with every breath. It is survival, it is damnation. And Potter Potter rages. The ministry calls him liar, mad boy, attention seeker. The prophet prints his shame in every headline. He snarls, he snaps, he throws tantrums in corridors. Fists clenched, he looks at me with hate sharper than ever, and I sharpen my own in return. He must hate me. He must never trust me. It is the only way I can protect him without breaking cover. Then Dumbledore tells me the worst of it. Acclimancy. The Dark Lord seeks Potter's mind, whispering through the scar, pushing into his dreams. Dumbledore orders me to train him, to seal his thoughts, to guard his soul. I laugh, bitter, sharp. Me guardian of the boy's mind, me his most hated tormentor. But the vow is louder than my laughter, so I accept. I summon him to my office. He arrives bristling, eyes narrowed, every inch his father. I sneer, call him weak, unready, arrogant. He snarls back. Good, rage will fuel him. Rage will make him fight. But when I press my wand to his temple, when I hiss legilimens and sink into his thoughts, I see too much. Corridors of memory split open. Lily's laughter, James's grin, the cupboard under the stairs, pain, loneliness, fear. His mind is a house of broken windows, and the Dark Lord already peers through the cracks. I shove him out of the spell, sneer that he is pathetic. He glares, cheeks flushed, fists trembling. He hates me more than ever. Perfect. Let him. He cannot know that my heart twisted when I saw her face in his thoughts. He cannot know that training him feels like drowning in my own regrets. Night after night I drill him. He fails. He fights. He resents. The scar burns on his forehead like the mark burns on my arm. 2 brands, 2 prisoners, bound to the same enemy. Neither of us admits it. Neither of us can. And all the while, Umbridge spreads her poison, decrees nailed to walls like death warrants. laughter echoing down corridors that smell of blood. She thinks she rules this castle. She is wrong. This castle belongs to war, and war is already here. Potter will not master occlumency quickly enough. The Dark Lord will claw deeper, tear secrets from him, use him as doorway. And when that happens, it will not be the ministry that bleeds first. It will be Lily's son. And if he dies under my watch, I will join him in the grave. The mind is not a fortress. It is a wound. Each lesson with Potter proves it. He arrives tense, fists clenched, jaw set, eyes blazing with inherited contempt. He hates that he must kneel to me for instruction. I hate that I must pierce his skull with my wand and glimpse the wreckage inside. Yet the vow chains me tighter than my disgust. Clear your mind, I snap. He does not. He cannot. His thoughts scatter like frightened birds. His memories flare with each strike of my magic. Dudley's fist in his ribs, hunger gnawing at his belly, cupboard walls pressing in, laughter at his expense echoing through classrooms. And over it all, Lily's eyes, her smile, the way she bent close when he was small, a memory I was never meant to see. It is agony. For him, for me. He retaliates, of course. Gryffindor pride bristles at humiliation. He fights the spell, lashes out with temper instead of discipline. Anger flares in his mind, a wildfire I cannot stamp out. And then it happens. He throws me back. My grip falters. The spell recoils, and in that slip he glimpses me. Not the mask, not the professor, me. He falls into my memory. Laughter echoing in the great hall. James and Sirius towering over me. Hexes pinning me in the sun. Robes ripped, pride shredded. Lily's voice cutting through the noise. Sharp, furious. Defending me and my own voice. Spitting poison back at her in shame and rage. Mudblood. Her eyes burning with hurt. Her back turning. My ruin beginning. I wrench him out with a snarl. Wand raised. Breath ragged. Fury shakes me. Shame coils hot in my gut. He saw too much. He saw everything I swore no one would see again. His face is pale, eyes wide, guilt flickering before defiance masks it. He opens his mouth to speak, perhaps to question, perhaps to pity. I silence him with a roar. Get out, he flees. The door slams. Silence floods the dungeon. I collapse into the chair, hands trembling. I press them to my eyes, but see her anyway. Lily, her face that day, her hurt, my word that drove her away, my greatest failure, exposed to her son, the boy who carries her eyes like a wound against me. The lessons end. I tell Dumbledore, the boy is unteachable. He does not argue. He only looks at me with sorrow, as though he expected this. Perhaps he did. He always does. But I know the truth. It was not Potter's weakness that ended the lessons. It was mine. Because in the battlefield of his mind, I saw not only his wounds, but my own, and I could not bear them both. The Dark Lord still claws at him, still presses through scar and dream. And now the boy is unguarded, because I could not master my own ghosts. If he dies because of it, his blood will stain my hands darker than any mark, and Lily's eyes will never forgive me. Umbrage, strangles the castle with parchment and ink. Every corridor drips with decrees. They multiply like vermin. No clubs, no dueling, no music, no words unapproved by her shrill little voice. She smiles as she nails them to the walls, hammer echoing like a death knell. Children whisper rebellion. She feeds on it. I watch her from the shadows of staff meetings, her pink wool and lace sitting like rot atop bone. She believes herself untouchable, shielded by the ministry's blindness. She does not see that the castle already hates her. The very stones shiver when she passes. She fears me, though she pretends otherwise. I catch it in her eyes, in the way her wand hand twitches when I speak. She knows I am not hers to command. That unsettles her. Good, let it. But while she prances, the boy with the scar burns. Potter grows thinner. He snaps at his friends. His eyes carry shadows too old for his years. He dreams loudly enough that even I can feel the tremor through the wards. The Dark Lord scratches at his mind, and the boy scratches back. Then one night he comes storming into my office. His face is pale, frantic. He says he saw it black, serious black, captured, tortured, trapped in the Department of Mysteries. His godfather, his only tether to family. His words tumble in panic. His eyes blaze with conviction, and I do not believe him. I weigh what I know. Potter's recklessness, his defiance, his inability to clear his mind. I remember his lies, his tantrums, his fantasies of grandeur. I remember his father's arrogance. I look at him and see James. I hear the word vision and I see manipulation. I tell him nothing. I send him away. He glares at me, betrayal sharp in his eyes. He spits words like daggers. He storms from the dungeon, certain I have condemned his godfather. Perhaps I have, when the message reaches me, later students missing, gone to the ministry, walking into a trap, the weight of it crushes me. They are children, armed with bravado, stepping straight into the Dark Lord's hands. Potter most of all. I taste bile. I feel the mark burn, and for the first time in years, I cannot decide which fire sears worse, the one Voldemort lit in my skin, or the one Lily's memory lit in my vow. The summons comes not from the Dark Lord, but from chaos. Students vanish, Potter among them. Whispers thread through the corridors. Scraps of rumor pieced together into something I cannot dismiss. They are gone to the ministry, to the Department of Mysteries. I pace the length of my office, torches spitting sparks, my mark burning faintly against my skin. He is in motion, the Dark Lord. He has set the trap, and Potter has stepped into it blind. I taste iron in my mouth. This was always the risk Potter's recklessness, sharpened into a weapon against him. But the worst cut is mine. I could have stopped him. I dismissed his vision, his frantic plea. I sent him away. Now the vow claws at me, demanding action. I move quickly, silently. Umbridge struts about the castle, bloated with power, convinced she has crushed resistance. She does not notice the corridors shifting, the portraits stirring. the castle whispering secrets around her. The children have already slipped her leash. I make certain her eyes turn elsewhere. A whispered charm, a planted trail, enough to buy them distance. Then I go higher, Dumbledore's office. The phoenix cries softly as I report, words sharp as blades. Potter is gone. To the ministry, too serious, to a trap. Dumbledore listens, face carved from stone. His hand trembles on the desk, but his voice does not. He says, reinforcements will move. The order will rally. Severus, he says, you know what you must do. I know. I always know. I slip from the castle under cover of night, cloak pulled tight, heart hammering. Apparition wrenches me into the heart of London, then again into shadows deeper still. The city thrums with life above, but beneath, in the halls of the ministry, silence rules. The Department of Mysteries waits. Corridors curl into themselves. Rooms whisper secrets too old for sane men. Somewhere down there, Potter and his friends stumble into the jaws of the Dark Lord's servants. I am not with them, not yet. I move where I can, whisper to those loyal, send signals into the dark. The order is coming. They must come, because if they do not, then Lily's son dies tonight, and if he dies, my vow dies with him. I press my hand to my mark, feel it throb with the Dark Lord's hunger, and I whisper into the silence, a promise meant only for myself. If you fail him, Severus, there will be no redemption left, only ruin. The shadows answer with nothing but echoes, and then the night begins to burn. The ministry echoes with war. By the time the order arrives, the trap has already snapped shut. Potter and his friends are scattered, fighting for their lives. Children bleeding in corridors meant for secrets, dueling Death Eaters with shouts that crack their voices. I see the wreckage after blasted walls, shivering students, spells still sizzling in the stone. And then the chamber, the Hall of Veils, a place I had hoped never to set foot in, where whispers of death slip through the curtain like breath from a dying mouth. It stands at the center, eternal, patient. Tonight it takes its toll. Sirius Black, the man I hated more than any other, the marauder whose laughter haunted me even in dreams. He duels with fire in his eyes, curses snapping like whips, words mocking even as he fights. He never changes. And then Bellatrix's spell, cruel and sure, strikes him full. His body jerks, stumbles, and he falls into the veil. Gone. No body, no scream, only silence where he once stood. The boy's cry splits the air, raw and broken. Potter hurls himself forward, clawing toward the curtain as though he can drag Black back by sheer will. Lupin seizes him, drags him away, face a ruin of grief. Potter thrashes, screams, sobs with the desperation of a child, denied his last tether to family. His voice shreds itself into the air, but the veil does not answer. It never does. I stand apart, frozen. Hatred should fill me. Satisfaction. Black is gone, his laughter silenced. The man who nearly killed me, the man who stole Lily's attention, the man who lived when she died, gone I should rejoice. But all I feel is emptiness, because Potter is crumpled on the floor, broken beyond rage, and Lily's son was never meant to carry this weight. His grief tears the chamber deeper than any curse, and I, who dismissed his warning, who sent him unguarded into this trap, I helped write this ending. Dumbledore duels Voldemort above us, fire and shadow colliding in fury too great for the eye. The ministry bursts with chaos, officials screaming, walls shattering. The Dark Lord flees, but the truth remains. He is back. He is flesh, and the world can deny it no longer. When the battle stills, when Potter is carried from the hall, trembling and silent, I linger in the shadows. The veil whispers softly, words I cannot catch. I wonder if Black laughs still, somewhere beyond. I wonder if Lily stands beside him, furious that I let her son suffer again. Back at the castle, Potter storms against Dumbledore's explanations, grief turning into fury, fury into despair. He smashes instruments, shouts until his voice breaks. I hear it from outside the door. I do not enter. He would only spit venom at me, and I would return it, and nothing would be gained. Instead, I retreat to my dungeon, mark burning, vow cloying. I pour myself fire whiskey, and do not drink it. I only watch it catch the torchlight, amber as Lily's hair. Black is gone. Potter is broken. The Dark Lord rises, and I am trapped in the same role I have always played. The man both sides despise, the weapon neither side trusts, the shield the boy must never know he has. I whisper into the dungeon silence, voice cracking against stone. Always, Lily, always, even if it kills me. The fire hisses in reply. Summer presses heavy on the world, though it is not the heat that suffocates me. It is the certainty that the Dark Lord has returned in flesh, and I am once more his dog. The mark burns daily now, hot as iron laid on skin. I answer its call when summoned, kneel in circles of masked men who greet me as brother, though I am only tolerated. The Dark Lord watches me with eyes like coals, red and knowing. He asks questions that cut too close. What does Dumbledore plan? How deep does the boy's power run? What whispers have I stolen from the castle's stone? I answer with half-truths polished into lies. Each word tastes of ash, and then Narcissa comes. It is night, and my home is silent when she knocks. She enters like a shadow unraveling, eyes swollen from grief, voice trembling. She begs, pleads, collapses at my feet. Draco, her son, has been given a task by the Dark Lord, an impossible task. To kill Dumbledore, a death sentence dressed as honor. Bellatrix sneers beside her, eyes glittering with suspicion. She taunts me, spits my name like venom. To her, I am traitor, spy, coward. She presses closer, demanding proof of loyalty. Swear it, she hisses. If you are truly our master's man, bind yourself to his cause. Then Narcissa begs, protect my son. Save him. Do what he cannot do. The vow forms in the air like chains of fire. The words slip from my lips, ancient and binding. I promise to protect Draco. I promise to shield him from harm. I promise, if he fails, to carry out the Dark Lord's will myself, to kill Albus Dumbledore. The magic latches coils around my arm, burns hotter than the mark itself. An unbreakable vow, a chain that will strangle me if I falter. When the women leave, I collapse into my chair, sweat dripping, hands trembling. I press them against my face, but cannot block the truth. I am trapped. The vow binds me to Dumbledore's death. The vow binds me to Lily's son's survival. The two paths cannot exist together, unless Dumbledore himself has planned for it. Later, when I return to Hogwarts, I climb the stairs to his office. He looks at me as though he already knows what I have done. His eyes soften, then harden, then soften again. He does not rage. He does not scold. He simply nods, as though this too was a piece on his board. We speak no words of the vow. We speak only of the boy, of the prophecy, of the war that has already begun. But when he clasps my shoulder, his hand light as ash, I understand. One day soon, he will ask me to do it. He will make my vow a blade turned inward, and I will have no choice but to cut. The summer air stifles, thick with smoke from unseen fires. I walk the grounds at dusk, watching the lake glimmer with false peace. The castle hums under my feet. Somewhere inside, Potter sulks, mourns, hardens into what he must become. The vow burns. The mark burns. My soul burns. By and I whisper into the evening air, softer than even the wind can carry. When the time comes, Albus, I will do it. Not for him, not for you. For her, always for her. The lake swallows my words, and the game tightens its noose. The new year begins under shadow. The Dark Lord's hand stretches further now, into homes, alleys, even ministry halls. Disappearances multiply. Fear slinks in every hearth, and yet the castle opens its gates as though the world were unchanged. Children chatter, trunks clatter, owls scatter feathers across the sky. Hogwarts pretends at safety while doom coils tighter. I return to my place at the staff table, eyes scanning, cloak folded like a shroud. The students gawk as always. Some shrink from me, others glare, but all watch. I let them. Fear is a shield. Potter arrives, taller, sharper, eyes darker than the year before. He wears suspicion like a cloak now, suspicion sharpened into hatred. He stares at me as though I carry the Dark Lord in my sleeve. Perhaps he is not entirely wrong. Dumbledore greets them with his usual cheer, his beard gleaming in the candlelight. Yet I see the pallor in his cheeks, the faint tremor in his hand when he lifts his goblet. He weakens. I know it before he admits it. The ring has poisoned him. The curse eats him slowly, a fire in his veins. He has months at most, and when the time comes, the vow will demand what he cannot ask aloud. My duties double. Potions, Slytherin, the Order, the Dark Lord, and now Draco. The boy struts into the hall, pale beneath his smirk, arrogance stretched thin. His task gnaws at him already. I see it in the set of his shoulders, in the way he glances at me for half a second too long. He thinks he must kill Dumbledore. He believes it is his burden alone. He does not yet know the vow sits on my shoulders heavier than his. Classes resume. Cauldrons bubble. Students flail. Potter slips a borrowed book into his bagon. Old potions text scrawled with marginalia sharp as daggers. I recognize it in an instant. My script, my knowledge, my youth, the half-blood prince's secrets, now in his hands. He brews with sudden skill, winning praise he never earned, wielding spells I once etched in lonely bitterness. Each page he turns is a mirror of me, though he does not know it. I watch him from the front of the classroom, hatred sour on my tongue. He thinks the prince a mentor, a hidden ally. He thinks himself clever. He does not know he is me. He does not know that his success is stolen from the wreckage of my youth, and I do not tell him. Some secrets must rot in silence. Dumbledore summons me late into the nights. His office smells of lemon drops and ash. We whisper of Horcruxes, of fragments of soul, of the snake that clings to flesh beyond death. His eyes burn with purpose, even as his body fails. He instructs me, presses me, confesses the truth. When the end comes, it must be my hand. He does not flinch as he says it. I nearly break under the weight of hearing it. I leave his office each time with bile in my throat, the vow burning in my arm, the mark burning in the other. Two masters, one fate. In the dungeons I brew poisons and antidotes, notes scrawled in cramped script, shelves lined with bottles gleaming like the eyes of watchers. Above the boy struts, the prince's book tucked close, spells spilling from his lips that he cannot even name. I grit my teeth until my jaw aches. The year wins tighter. The castle feels it. The walls hum lower. The stones shift uneasily. The torches burn with smoke that tastes of iron. We are all waiting. For what? No one dares to say aloud. But I know. I know the boy will learn what it is to kill. I know Dumbledore will ask me to be the knife. And I know the prince's words, scribbled in margins years ago, are leading Potter toward a destiny none of us can hold. I am surrounded by ghosts, alive and dead, and every one of them whispers the same word when I close my eyes. Soon, Draco is unraveling. I see it in his skin, pale as candle wax, in his hands, always trembling when he thinks no one watches, in the hollows beneath his eyes, dark with sleepless nights spent pacing secret corridors. The Dark Lord has given him an impossible task, and though he wears his arrogance like armor, I can see the cracks widening. He builds machines of murder in hidden rooms, cabinets that should not sing, potions that should not glow, spells that should not be on a boy's tongue. He smuggles cursed trinkets, rigs poisons into goblets, sends hexes slithering through the hall. Every attempt fails. Each failure gnaws him deeper. Narcissa's face swims before me each night, her pleading, her hands clutching mine when the vow sealed. Protect him. Save my son. I shadowed Draco as closely as I dare, stepping in unseen when he stumbles too far toward the edge. I sabotage his sabotage, dulling blades he thinks sharp. I buy him time, but time is another enemy. Dumbledore weakens daily. His hand blackens with curse. His breath catches. His body betrays him. He hides it beneath smiles, but I see the truth. He is a man already marked for death, and he has chosen who must kill him. Me. The vow demands it. His will confirms it. One night he summons me again. The office glows dim, the phoenix silent. He speaks of the boy, of Draco's failure, of his looming despair, of the certainty that he will not carry the deed to the end. He tells me that when the moment comes, it must be I who raises the wand, I who severs his life. Do it quickly, he says, and let him Draco be spared the weight of blood. Bile in my throat, rage and grief knotted into a noose. I want to refuse. I want to refuse. I want to scream. Instead, I nod. My vow thrums, sealing the command deeper. When I leave, the castle feels heavier, as though it knows what I have agreed to. Draco grows thinner. He collapses in corridors, staggers in lessons, glares at Potter with fury sharp as a knife. Potter grows suspicious, hunting him with that reckless obsession that will one day kill him. Their hatred circles tighter. Two boys dragged into the orbit of men's wars, and me patrol like a shadow caught between them. Draco slipping into despair. Potter slipping into destiny. Dumbledore slipping into death. The tower waits above us all, tall and silent, a scaffold of stone. I feel its pull even in dreams. My wand hand aches, as though preparing for the weight it will soon bear. Soon the night will come when Draco falters, and the vow drags me upward. Soon I will become the hand that ends the only man who ever trusted me, and Lily's eyes will be there to see it, in the boy's face, in the boy's scream. I cannot escape it. The tower is waiting. The night splits with fire. I know before the alarm spreads through the halls. The mark on my arm sears white-hot, a summons and a signal both. The castle shudders under spells hurled through its bones. Shouts echo, children scream, stone cracks. The Dark Lord's servants are inside. Draco's night has come. I run, cloak snapping, wand drawn, breath ragged. Every step pulls me upward, toward the tower that waits like a gallows. The vow coils tight around my throat, dragging me toward fate. By the time I reach the stairs, the battle rages. Curses flash, rubble falls, portraits shriek warnings. I climb faster, 2 at a time, my chest hollow with dread. My vow burns hotter than the mark. Each heartbeat hammers one word. Now, at the top, chaos stilled into tableau. Draco stands, wand raised, hand trembling so violently I can see it from the doorway. His face is pale, lips bloodless, eyes wide with terror. Before him, Dumbledore leans weakly against the stone, robes torn, hand withered black, body failing. He is unarmed yet calm, his gaze fixed not on Draco's wand, but on me. Our eyes lock, Severus, his voice in my mind, not spoken, but commanding all the same. Please, behind Draco, Death Eaters prowl, jeering, eager, greyback snarls, teeth gleaming. Bellatrix's eyes burn with cruel delight. They hunger for the boy to finish it. They hunger for Dumbledore's fall. But Draco cannot. His wand shakes. His voice cracks. He spits words of hate, but his arm will not obey. He is 16, and the Dark Lord has handed him a death warrant signed in his own blood. Tay step forward. The Death Eaters grin. Bellatrix urges me on, her voice dripping mockery. She wants proof. She wants me bound as surely as the vow already binds me. Dumbledore's eyes hold me, blue, bright, unwavering. He does not beg, he commands. He knows this is the only way. Every ghost in my soul rises. Lilies laugh, lilies scream. The boy's face, her eyes in his fury. The vow coiling like chains, the mark searing like fire. The choice is not choice at all. My wand rises, my hand does not tremble. My mouth forms the words that have haunted me for months. Avada, Kedavra. Green light fills the tower. It burns through me, not around me, as though I too am consumed. Dumbledore's body arcs, a broken silhouette against the stars, then falls into the darkness below. Silence. For one heartbeat, silence absolute. Then chaos erupts. The Death Eaters cheer. Bellatrix shrieks triumph. Draco staggers back in horror. The vow releases its chokehold, leaving me hollow. I force my face into stone. I snarl at Draco to move, to flee. I drive the Death Eaters downward, through fire and ruin, until we burst into the night and flee into shadow. Behind me, the castle wails. The children scream. The phoenix cries a note that splits the sky. When at last we are gone, when darkness swallows us, I let my face collapse into nothing. I have killed him, the only man who ever trusted me, the only man who knew the depth of my ruin. I have kept my vow. I have damned myself. And somewhere inside the castle, Potter screams my name with a hatred that will never die. It is done. The tower is empty now, but I will carry its shadow until my own fall. They give me the throne and call it reward. The castle that once loathed me now bends under my command. Portraits bow, seals stamp parchment with my name. Headmaster Snape. The words taste of ash. The Dark Lord decrees it. The governors obey, and the world believes I have become what I was always suspected of being, his creature. The children believe it too. Their glares follow me through the halls, sharper than any curse. Potter's name still clings to their lips, their hope, their rebellion. They whisper of Dumbledore, of a secret army, of defiance. They see me at the staff table and sneer, calling me traitor, murderer, coward. They are not wrong. I wear the marks. I snarl in lessons, deduct points, enforce decrees. I let the Carrows, the Dark Lord's chosen, roam the corridors with cruelty dripping from their wands. They revel in punishment. They paint fear across young faces as though it were art. I pretend not to care. I sneer when they report to me. But in the shadows, I blunt their knives where I can. A curse redirected, a punishment softened, a name erased from the Carrows' lists. They suspect nothing. The children see only my cruelty. They never see my hand shielding them from worse. Every night I walk the castle alone. Its voice hums against my bones, uneasy, grieving. It knows Dumbledore is gone. It knows I sent him falling. The walls no longer welcome me, but they obey. I pace the corridors like a prisoner in his own cell. Dumbledore's portrait hangs in his office, eyes twinkling still, maddeningly unchanged. He speaks in riddles, in counsel, in plans for a war not yet lost. I want to smash the frame, to silence him, to scream that he asked for his own death, but I do not. I listen, because I cannot stop, because he is the only anchor left. My mark burns nightly now. Summons, commands, interrogations. I kneel before the Dark Lord and weave lies sharper than glass. I tell him of discipline, of the castle under control, of Potter nowhere to be found. He searches my face, his eyes crawling through me. He finds nothing. He smiles, thin and cruel. My life remains intact for another day. And Potterrow is Potteran's wild beyond the castle's reach. The prophet screams his name. The Dark Lord howls for his capture, and the world watches for his shadow. I feel his absence in every corridor. He is not here, yet his presence gnaws at me like hunger. He carries Lily's eyes into war, untrained, unguarded, alone, and I cannot help him. Not yet. So I rule this castle with iron and silence. I let them hate me. I let them curse my name. Hatred is armor for them and for me. If they believe I am the Dark Lord's hand, they will not see the shield hidden behind it. Each night I whisper into the dungeon's dark, to walls that no longer listen, to ghosts that will not answer. This is the part they will never know. Lily, that I kept your son breathing not by love, but by loathing, that I became what he most despises, so he might live long enough to end this war. The torches hiss, the walls stay silent, and the mask grows heavier every day. The castle is no longer a school. It is a barracks, a prison, a laboratory for cruelty. Put the Carrows strut in the corridors like vultures fattened on rot. Alecto smears her lessons with propaganda, forcing children to parrot the Dark Lord's lies until their throats are raw. Amicus prefers pain spells that blister skin, hexes that leave scars. Detention is no longer lines on parchment. It is cruciatus, practiced until students collapse, twitching, broken. Let it happen. I must. To intervene openly would betray the mask, would shatter the delicate balance that keeps suspicion from turning inward. But in the shadows, I blunt their teeth. I erase names from punishment lists. I order detentions ended earlier than intended. I leave antidotes and salves in cupboards where clever children will find them. I reduce unforgivable curses to stings when I supervise. Still, I am a villain to them. Their eyes sear me with hate, Longbottom in particular. He walks the corridors with bruises on his face and defiance in his posture. Each time he glares, I feel Lily's gaze burning behind his round eyes. He believes me the Dark Lord's hand. He is not wrong. He just cannot see that the hand shields even as it strikes. Luna Lovegood is another. Her calm cuts through fear like a knife of glass. The Carrows call her oddity weakness, but I know it is strength. When she disappears taken as punishment, dragged to the dungeons below, ensure her survival. Food left where they will not look. Spells woven quiet to keep the worst away. I cannot free her, but I can keep her breathing. I do not protect openly. I cannot. But each night I walk the halls, and the portraits whisper to me of bruises healed too fast. Punishments cut short, carrows, curses dulled at the edges. They do not suspect. They call it incompetence. Good, let them. Above it all, the Dark Lord tightens his grip. My mark burns with summons. I kneel before him in cold halls, and hear whispers of the Elder Wand. He seeks it, hunts it, hungers for it. His obsession burns brighter than his rage. He believes Dumbledore carried it to the grave. He sends me to confirm. I obey. At night, I climb the astronomy tower where the deed was done. The wind claws at my cloak, the stones cold as guilt. I stare at the place where Dumbledore fell, his body broken below. The Dark Lord believes the Elder Wand was his. He believes killing the old man gave me its allegiance. He is wrong. I know it. Dumbledore knew it. But the Dark Lord's belief is enough to bind my fate. One day soon, he will turn on me. He will test whether the wand answers to my hand or to his. That day will end me. Until then, I must endure. I must keep the mask in place, even as it suffocates me. The students whisper rebellion. They form secret groups, pass notes, carve signs into stone. The castle itself aids them, stairs stalling to shield them, doors opening at the right moment. I do not stop it. I even feed it, subtly, carefully supplies. Misplaced wards thinned just enough to let them slip through. They think themselves clever. They never see the hand guiding them. And Potter always. Potter remains absent, yet present in every whisper, every hope. His name is carved into the very air. The Dark Lord hunts him across the countryside. The prophet spits venom at him daily. But the students believe. They whisper he will come. They swear they will rise when he does. I walk the halls at night and hear their whispers in the stone. I sneer, scoff, strike points when I catch them aloud, and in the silence after I whisper back what none will ever hear. Yes, he will come, and the castle will bleed when he does, but he must come. He must. The mark burns, the vow binds, the mask cracks, and I, Severus Snape, remain what I have always been. A man both sides will spit on, and the only shield Lily's son has left. The air changes before the alarm is raised. I feel it in the stone under my boots, in the wards humming like struck glass, in the portraits whispering in a tongue even I cannot catch. The castle knows Potter is here. The Carrows burst into my office, wild-eyed. Electo's fat fingers tremble as she babbles about alarms in Ravenclaw Tower. Amicus snarls, spittle flying, demanding I drag the truth out of students myself. They think me their equal fools. I silence them with a look that drains the color from their faces. They forget themselves quickly. But their panic confirms what the castle already told me. The boy has returned. I leave the carrows sputtering and climb the staircases, cloak snapping in the charged air. With each step, the portraits lean closer, whispering, shifting. The very castle stirs as if after a long sleep. In the corridor, she meets me. McGonagall, rigid eyes sharp as knives. Behind her, students cluster, whispers sharp with fear and fire both. Her wand is drawn, steady. She knows. She does not ask questions. She accuses. "Potter is here," she says, "and you will not touch him." For a heartbeat we stand locked, two old enemies bound by the same stone. My wand is already in my hand. Behind me the carrows hiss, urging me to strike. Behind her students shift, ready to raise voices, ready to rebel. The air shatters. We duel. P's spells rip down the corridor, light searing, stone cracking. She is faster than I remember, sharper, her fury giving her strength. I parry, deflect, never strike to kill. She does not notice. She drives me back, step by step. Her voice a roar in the silence of years. Traitor, murderer, coward. The portraits scream. The castle groans. Students scatter as the air itself burns. At last, more teachers join her, circling, wands raised. Flitwick's eyes blaze. Sprout's voice shakes with rage. They will not let me stay. I could kill them. I know it. My wand twitches with spells honed sharper than theirs. But to kill them would unravel what little mask I still wear. And perhaps I do not want to. Not these, not tonight. I let them drive me back. I cloak myself in fury, in disdain. I lash curses wild enough to dazzle, never aimed to end. And when the hall behind me yawns open, I vanish into shadow, cloak snapping like a retreating banner. The castle erupts the moment I am gone. Alarms wail. Students cheer. The battle begins. I flee not in cowardice, but in inevitability. My role is finished. My mask cannot hold. The boy has returned, and the castle rises to meet him. The order gathers. The Dark Lord marches, and I, hunted by Botham, left only one path. Toward my master, toward my death. The night outside is alive with fire, curses streaking across the sky. The dark mark blazing green above. Screams echo from the grounds. The war has come home at last. I whisper into the chaos, unheard by anyone but the wind. Potter, it is your turn now. Survive, her son. Survive. And then I run, because the Dark Lord is calling, and Severus Snape has no more choices left to make. The castle burns. Spies echo through my bones as I move through the shadows. Every hallway is alive with spells, curses colliding in thunderclaps, walls blackened by fire. The portraits shriek warnings. The staircases buck and twist. The very stone groans beneath the weight of war. Children scream. Death Eaters roar. The Order counters with fury. And in the center of it all, though unseen, I know he moves, the boy, Lily's son, pulled like a star toward the heart of the storm. I slip past duels in progress, cloak tight, wand raised. Death Eaters nod as I pass. their eyes gleaming with bloodlust. None suspect me, not yet. They believe me their commander, their master's trusted hound. The order, if they glimpse me, strike without hesitation. I am caught between two blades, and both thirst for my blood. But the mark on my arm burns hotter than any spell. He summons my master, my destroyer. The boathouse lies at the edge of the grounds, a skeleton of wood and stone half shrouded in mist. The lake laps quietly, as though unaware of the war devouring its shores. The Dark Lord waits inside, Nagini coiled in her prison of protection, her scales gleaming in the dim torchlight. His silhouette is tall, thin, terrible against the shifting water. I bow low, every muscle stiff with dread. His voice cuts the silence. The boy approaches his end. The castle resists. And you, Severus, you have served me well. Yet there is more you must give. His eyes, red and merciless, pierce me. My mark throbs like a second heartbeat. I wait, but the silence that follows tastes of poison. He knows, not all, but enough. His obsession with the Elder Wand has led him to a conclusion more damning than any betrayal. The wand resists me, he says softly, almost with sorrow. It does not answer as it should. Do you know why? I keep my voice steady. It answers to none but its true master. His gaze sharpens. And who is that, Severus? I do not answer. Perhaps I could lie, twist the truth. Perhaps I could weave another mask. But I see the decision already in his eyes. My life is forfeit, not because of betrayal, but because of logic. He believes Dumbledore's death bound the wand to me, and so my death must free it. He turns to the serpent. Kill. The word is a whisper, the hiss of inevitability. Nagini strikes. The barrier opens, and her fangs tear into me, hot knives driving deep. The world erupts in pain. I collapse against the boards, blood flooding my robes, the mark on my arm flaring once, then fading, useless. The Dark Lord turns away before I fall. To him, my death is already certain. He has no need to watch. His footsteps fade, leaving me broken, drowning in my own blood. Nagini's venom burning through my veins like fire. But fate is not done with me. Figures appear in the doorway. The boy, Potter, his face pale, his eyes wide, his body taut with disbelief. Behind him, Granger and Weasley hover, wary, ready to strike. They expect malice. They expect curses. But all I have left to give is truth. I cannot speak. My throat fills with blood, choking me. My wand slips from my fingers. I seize Potter's cloak, drag him closer with what little strength remains. His eyes burn into mine, confused, furious, terrified. Lily's eyes, her eyes, memories tear themselves from me, spilling faster than words could ever carry. Dumbledore's commands, the prophecy. Lily always Lily her laughter, her fury, her hair bright as fire, her eyes filled with life. My vow, my ruin, my love, all of it pours into the boy like smoke, like blood. He must know, he must see, he must understand that everything I have done, every cruelty, every mask was for this. for him, for her. The last of me drains away with the memories. My chest tightens, the world dims. I feel the floor cold against my cheek, the scent of blood iron sharp in my nose. Potter stares down at me, his face a storm of shock and horror. I want to tell him to hate me still. Hatred is armor, but no words come, only silence. And in that silence, I see her one last time. Lily smiling in the sunlight, her hand brushing mine. Not forgiveness, not absolution, just her. I let go. The boathouse breathes once, then stills. I am dead, but I am not gone. The boy carries me now. My blood, my secrets, my vowel of it seeps through him as he staggers from the boathouse into a castle burning. He does not know it, but I am with him, in his veins, in his thoughts. In the weight of the memories he clutches as though they are a weapon. He sees me young, bitter, brilliant. He sees Lily laughing by the lake, hair aflame, eyes alive with light. He sees my hunger for her friendship, my jealousy curdling it into poison. He sees me call her the word that shattered everything. He sees her back turn. He sees me ruined by my own tongue. He sees me kneeling before the Dark Lord, begging, swearing my life, if only hers might be spared. He hears the vow that chained me to two masters. He sees me fall before Dumbledore, offering all, demanding only her son be kept safe. He sees the years of masks, of cruelty sharpened into armor, of hatred worn like skin, all to shield the boy who must never know. He sees Dumbledore dying, his hand black with curse, his eyes asking me to be the knife. He sees me kill him, not as betrayal, but as mercy, as obedience, as love twisted into its last shape. He sees every step of my ruin, and in seeing, he understands. I feel it in him, the shift. His hatred still burns, but beneath it blooms something more dangerous, comprehension. He knows now that he was not shielded by chance, nor by Dumbledore alone, but by me, the man he hated most. He knows Lily lived in my every choice. He knows that when he walks into the forest to meet death, he does not walk alone. The castle shakes above him. The Dark Lord bellows victory. The students huddle in fear. The order rallies in desperation. Yet the boy moves steadily, carrying me inside him, step after step toward the woods, toward his end. I whisper with him, though he cannot hear. Yes, this is the only way. You must go. You must die, so that he can die with you, so that she can finally rest. T clutches the snitch, opens it, reveals the stone. And then they appear, his parents, the ghosts of those he lost, their love woven into light. I feel her most of all. Lily, radiant, walking beside him once again, my vow complete, my soul undone. He goes to meet the Dark Lord, to meet death, to save them all, and one Severus Snape walk with him always. The last thing I feel is not heat, nor pain, nor triumph. It is silence folding over me like a robe taken off at the end of a long, filthy day. He stands in the forest like a boy the world will not stop making into a hero, and for once I look on without an instrument in my hand. The reds and blacks of war blur, around him. The Dark Lord faces him, all arrogance and calculation, a shadow convinced it owns the rules it tries to bend. The spells cleave the air. The world seems to hold its breath, because it remembers the first time it learned to fear. From somewhere inside him, the snitch opens like a small, foolish sun. The stone is small, stupid, perfect. The moment it gleams, something that has been waiting for years clicks into place. Fate, if one wants to name it, loosens its grip one notch and shows a face that is not cruelty. For a second that stretches until it hurts, every plan the Dark Lord had makes the smallest fatal error. The wand he relies on obeys a law older than cunning. It answers to loyalty, not to terror. The green light comes. The boy moves toward it with all the calm of a man who has already chosen his end. I do not know if he means to die. He means to finish what was started, to put a period on a line that has bled too long. The curse strikes him, bright and awful and perfect. It should end him. The world rehearses that ending. Even I, who have spent a life learning how to read ends, prepare for it. And it does not take him. The power rebounds. The Dark Lord is unmade by the thing that made him human in the first place. His protection, his terror, his cunning, all fold back on themselves because power without rightful owner is hollow. The army around him crumbles as if a hand unseen has plucked a string and the music ceases. The green cloud dies. The night blinks. Silence becomes roar and then becomes stillness again. I watch the boy breathe. He is alive. He is whole in a way that will never be simple again. Around him the living rise and fall and moan and gather. There is grief, a sharp paper of loss for those who gave everything and did not see the end. There is celebration, sudden and awkward and tiny, because human beings need air and laughter even on the bones of their dead. I should feel vindication. I should feel triumph for the lies and cruelties I endured. Instead, what swells in me is a thing that has no name, but might be called release. The memories I gave him are not a gift meant to soothe. They are evidence. They are the slow, ugly architecture of a life that made its choices and then hid the scaffold. I watch him move through them the way one moves through a house after a storm, finding which rooms remain standing. His understanding cuts him. It does not heal him. No memory does that. But it turns hatred into a more complicated thing, an alloy that might someday hold. The students find one another. Some stagger into hands that hold them. The order gathers, ragged and half-broken, and those who remain to speak look at me with old judgments already carved into their faces. Harry moves among them, and for a breath I see the old boy who once had the appetite for trouble, now tempered by a grief that sits like a second skin. He looks at my face. He understands, because he carries my truth inside his head like a cold stone. He looks at me not as an enemy to be crushed, but as a wound that once bled for him. There will be no easy reconciliation. There will be, perhaps, acknowledgement. Dumbledore's portrait stares down at me with that same gentle cruelty I always loved and loathed. He had plans I can never fully repay. He built with pieces he did not think he would need to show. He used me until I was used up. He trusted me in ways that were more dangerous than any spell. For a moment his painted eyes softened, not with pity, but with the solemnity of men who have wagered everything and lost and found some shape of victory anyway. The wind moves through the trees and lifts the smell of leaves and rain and smoke. The castle will heal. Children will laugh again in unpredictable, stupid ways. Names will be spoken at kitchen tables and in the papers. The argument about what I was will burn in other mouths for years. Hero, villain, traitor, savior. Those words will circle me and never catch the whole truth. I lived a life of small cruelties and vast duties that contradict. That is my lot. It is not a noble one. It is not a clean one. It is what I made out of choices that were never free, and at last, perhaps, what redemption looks like when measured by a single stubborn promise. Harry leans down, eyes full of everything he cannot say. He does not beg forgiveness in that look. He does not absolve me. He holds me with the same weary determination he learned from those who loved him most. I let him hold my hand because there is nothing left to defend. I want to demand that he hate me still, for his own protection. But the sound my throat makes is not a demand. It is nothing at all. In the distance, someone calls a name and then another. The living fold around one another. The war is over because the man who started it is undone, but the cost will echo for generations. The boy will carry that echo. He will name his child for men whose faces were complicated and lastingly necessary. He will think of me in ways that are not simple. I am indifferent to honor. I wanted only that Lily's child lived. My breath thins. The pain recedes, less a punishment now than a leaving. The world narrows to a point of light at the end of a long, crooked corridor. A few images come to me like pages lifted in a draught. A laughing girl by a river, hair catching sun. A headmaster who knew too much and loved too well. A vow spoken in desperate hands. A castle with too many names on its stones. A boy who kept on walking when the rest of us hesitated. I realize, with the faint, bitter amusement of a man who has spent a life bargaining with ruin, that the shape I wanted for my life was not forgiveness. That had never been the price I demanded. I wanted only to answer one question, to make one promise hold true in the end. In the last hours I can say with small satisfaction that I did. The vow fulfilled, the protection kept. The rest is debris. My eyes close because the world softens and no longer requires my watch. The hush that falls is neither repentant nor triumphant. It is the ordinary hush of the dead, a quiet that is final in the only honest way left to men like me. If there is a reckoning beyond this, let it listen to what I did in private, and not what I had to be in public. If there is a ledger, let it balance the long list of small mercies against the ledger of cruelty. But do not expect to find a saint. You will only find a tired man who kept his promise. The last thing I see is a doe of light moving through the trees, unafraid, patient, bright as a last truth. It lifts its head, and for an instant all the years contract into that small, unmistakable shape. I let the image anchor me. I let it be the last thing that holds my breath. Always.